the gavel for today. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Before we do roll call, if we could have, or please stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, please. Here. Here?
Can't hear the clerk or whoever's calling roll.
If we can please have the clerk turn on their mic. We cannot hear on WebEx.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Commissioner Kemp? Commissioner Cohen? Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Councilman Maniscalco?
Here?
Joe Wagoner? Commissioner Overman?
Here.
Charles Klug? And we're also pleased to have Councilman Citro in the room and Gina Evans online.
All right. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 12th, 2021? So moved. We have a motion from Councilman Cohen. Do we have a second? A second to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
We have a second from Councilman Citro. Roll call vote. You don't? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All righty, we go to public comment. We have 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have anybody registered for public comment at this time?
We do not have anyone signed in just yet for public comment.
Thank you very much. We'll go to status reports. The first one is the introduction to today's meeting focus, TPO 2021 studies. I defer to Ms. Beth Alden.
Thank you so much, and good morning. It's great to see you. I hope you've had a great summer. Oh, all right. Let me start again. I just wanted to thank you for being here today. I hope you all have had a great summer. We have been busy. We have been getting underway with the studies for our MPO Unified Planning Work Program of this past year. So oftentimes the studies that you all select for us to focus on, you hear about them at the very beginning as ideas. And then at the very end, when we come back after 9 to 12 months of study and we have some recommendations. Today, we'd like to offer you the opportunity to look in a little bit more detail at some of the studies that are underway so that you can guide us, make sure that we are incorporating all of the voices that need to be heard and hitting all of the points. So, we have status reports on 4 studies. I wanted to also mention that there are a couple of others that are underway right now. So we are, in addition to these 4, doing a bus stop inventory for HART. And we are also looking at mobility as a service as part of our transportation disadvantaged service plan. So things like Uber and Lyft and on-demand providers and micromobility. How can those fit into the total picture of providing service to our transportation disadvantaged population? We also have a couple of other studies that you all have approved into our work program that we have not gotten started on yet, but that we expect to jump into in about 6 months. And those include our Phase 2 school areas study, a Plant City Canal Connector Trail feasibility study, a look at supply chain resilience, and also a look at our facilities for electric vehicles. So with that, I will turn it over to our first status report, And I believe that is Lisa Silva to talk with you about the pilot study to create special speed zones for parks.
Good morning. Okay,
Good morning, go ahead.
I'm ready, but I'm making sure, is the PowerPoint displaying?
Yes, it
Okay, there
is.
it is. All right, would you switch to not notes view? There, great. Okay, I'm Lisa Silva, TPO staff, and I'm pleased to present to you an idea that originated in the Livable Roadways Committee when we were seeking out UPWP projects. We know that schools zones are special places because we have vulnerable users getting to and from school, especially today. But we also recognize that parks are special places that all the members of our community, including those vulnerable members, go to and from, and many times on foot or bicycle. So we thought we could take a special look in and around our parks. Next slide. Okay, so this is a continuation of implementing our Vision Zero action plan, and then the subsequent speed management action plan helps inform this. So it's going to help us prioritize where we set lower speeds, implement engineering countermeasures, and achieve the desired speeds to then reduce the number of severe and fatal crashes on our roadways. Next slide. So with this park speed zone, it's a pilot project. So what we mean by that is that we looked at, we could budget for 3 different park types in all of the jurisdictions for Hillsborough County. The overall purpose is to develop something that can be replicated for all of our other many parks. The first step was to identify the parks, and with that analysis, we have over 440 parks in all of Hillsborough County. So we needed a transparent and equitable process for the park selection. That detailed analysis and criteria is posted on our website. Once the park types were selected, a preliminary existing conditions assessment was performed. So we have completed tasks 1 and 2. We have the drafts of those existing conditions also posted, lots of data and detail in all those. I'm just going to highlight some of that briefly today. So now we're stepping into our public outreach process to connect with the community to make sure we haven't missed anything. So I'll highlight some of that later. And so the ultimate thing is that we're going to develop a countermeasure toolbox, which then can be applied to all the other park locations based on their unique characteristics of each location. So this process is documented so they can follow that for additional parks. Next slide, please. The park selection process was very data intensive. It considered a wide array of factors, especially equity and safety. The goal was to select the 3 different park types in 3 different contexts throughout the county. Next slide. For the purposes of this study, we defined 4 types of parks to help organize the selection. A local park, which is less than 5 acres, tends to be in residential areas where most people are walking or biking to the park. There were approximately 200 in that data set. Some of them have structures and picnic tables, etc. The next one was a passive regional park. These are larger than 5 acres, no programmed activities or staff. They're located in a variety of contexts, some urban, some rural, different modes to get there, typically not served by bus or transit. Then the next category was active regional park. That's where we do have the programmed activities and staff. Similar to the passive, it's in a wide variety, approximately 150 of this type of park. And then our last category was linear parks. They typically follow a natural feature, such as a shoreline or waterway. Biking and walking are very intensive. Bayshore Linear Park is one of our most prominent in the area. So all in all, we had 200 parks in the unincorporated area, 195 in the city of Tampa, 23 in each of Temple Terrace and Plant City that we evaluated. So next slide. We developed 9 evaluation criteria in the categories of equity, safety, and miscellaneous or other, and applied a weighting category to allocate. We're very committed to our equity goal, so we did 40 points for the equity criteria, 40 points for safety, and then 20 points for the other. So we won't go into the detail of each, but I'll just kind of give you a little sense of them. Clearly, communities of concern helped us define equity. You know what that is. If the area had limited prior investment, so there weren't any capital improvement programs coming up soon to benefit the park. If it was in a half a mile of one of our Vision Zero high injury networks, got some points for that. The number of biped killed or seriously injured within a half a mile was evaluated. Proximity for hard braking events, so we have data that can tell us where that's occurring. The density of residents within half a mile and jobs, and then extra points if it was going to benefit another community amenity like a school or library or hub, and then ease of public engagement. So if a park was closed for renovations or something, we couldn't get feedback, we considered that. Next slide. So, drum roll, what did we select? Well, Sulphur Springs was selected in the local park category. Burrell Park was a slightly higher, but due to its downtown location and other transportation issues, it wouldn't be as widely applicable to other parks. So Sulphur Springs was seen as the next best candidate. Next slide. In our active regional park category, the University Area Park had a few more points because many of the past investments that we've already done probably haven't caught up and lowered the crash data, et cetera. So because it had had lots of investment, we moved to the next one. Copeland Park was seen as a really great candidate and a bigger need. So that one was selected. Next slide. And for the linear parks, although oddly Tampa Riverwalk scored more points, and it was seen in a downtown region and so having lots of attention and investments. So then we looked at Fremont. It was only a quarter mile long. So we're like, wow, Upper Tampa Bay Trail is very long, serves the rural area, suburban area, and some rural urban contacts. So it was seen as one that in this pilot could apply to a lot more context. Also, since the other two just coincidentally happened to fall in the city of Tampa, we're like, oh yay, Upper Tampa Bay is for in the Hillsborough County unincorporated area, so let's select that. So those were the 3 that we did detailed studies on. Next slide. Then we have a very detailed existing conditions analysis. This is not a lot of park speed zones throughout the nation, so we did do some research and look at best practices emerging throughout the nation. Next slide. Copeland Park was that regional active park that was selected. Some of the key findings, show, you can see the scattered dots there of the intensity of the people that are traveling to and from the park. Are 1 to 3 miles. Lots of inconsistent, uncomfortable pedestrian facilities, no bike facilities connecting to the park, and barriers like Fowler Avenue and a railroad crossing. Given this is in the area of our USF trail feasibility study, we're coordinating significantly with my colleague on that. And then 15th Street traverses past this, and so the countermeasures that were proposed in the 15th Street Vision Zero corridor study is also being considered in that report. Next slide. Sulphur Springs Park, most people are more concentrated in a 1 mile radius around the park. It also has inconsistent bike ped facilities. There are opportunities to relocate some right-of-way and get some kind of creative around that park. And the initial analysis indicates some opportunities to reduce the speed limits surrounding in the corridors. Next slide. Upper Tampa Bay Trail, our regional destination. A lot more people driving to the trailheads in this type of a park. So, but unfortunately, when you look at it, it's kind of designed for just non-motorized connections. But as you can see in the dots, we do have people traveling, and we don't want to encourage more bike walk access. So lots of opportunities to improve that design. Opportunities for travel speeds along the corridors too in our initial speed analysis. Next slide. Always want a robust public feedback and engagement campaign. We're also considering our, pandemic status. So we have online feedback in both English and Spanish in both this. You can see there in the thing that we have an interactive map. You can zoom on any of the three or all three and comment on all of them. And it walks you through ways to even take a picture of your issue and insert it into the map. So we hope all of you visit it and promote our interactive map. We also have a survey mechanism. So if someone would rather just not deal with the technology of an interactive web map, they can answer questions for us. And many of the questions are open-ended, so they can comment on anything, and they help prompt things that we want more feedback on. As I mentioned, we're have some companion initiatives, not only the trail feasibility study, but we've learned of the city of Tampa's doing a master plan update to their parks and recreation plan. So we're cross-promoting their effort and asking that they do that for us. A little in-person outreach too, so kind of imagining some sandwich signs along the corridor with the QR code to these different online activities. So, low touch, but, being available at some of the trailheads on the, because of the data, we know when they're most visited, to offer up some free water bottles or a granola bar. Here, take our study, our survey. Also, now that, we've got some after-school programs at some of the active parks, we can ask that, we have flyers designed to push the survey, asking their help with that. I also thought maybe Friends of the Park could help us. I noticed there's a robust Facebook group for the Upper Tampa Bay Trail. So ask them to help us out with that, and any, of course, any homeowners associations or community groups. Next slide. So this is how you get to it, just launched. And you can contact me to give me any ideas for helping get feedback on the pilot study for park speed zones. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to hand it off to Chairperson Kemp. We are now at, if there's no questions, we'll go into Part B, which is the Park Speed Zone Pilot Study. I'm sorry, we just did that. The Storm Evacuation Forecast and Shelter-in-Place Scenarios.
This is Commissioner Overman. I just have a quick comment or question of Lisa. Thank you very much for your report. And I was curious if the flyers could also be put in our libraries.
Of course.
We have areas of the county that don't have much internet service, and this would be one way that those libraries that are open, given where we are with the pandemic, that may be another resource for outreach that are not directly related to the parks. So just as a suggestion. Thank you.
Right. Yes, libraries, schools, if they'll allow us.
Is that, okay, it's on there. Okay, then if there's no other questions, move on to the Storm Evacuation Forecast and Shelter-in-Place Scenario Study.
Hi, good morning. Cheryl, if you could put up the flyer for me when you get a moment. Thank you. Okay, that's fine too, the website. So good morning, Allison Ye with the TPO staff, and I'm going to provide a very quick briefing this morning, taking a break from PowerPoints on the TPO Storm Evacuation Forecast and Shelter-in-Place Scenario Studies. It's more of a technical study. We kicked it off just in late June, so I don't have a lot of data to share right now. We've been working to collect data and working with emergency management, the county, city, ART, Sunshine Lines School Board, and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, which is they're all involved in the evacuation process. So the goal of the study, the primary goal, is to supplement the information of current evacuation plans. There's a lot of work in that already, and to look for possible options for improving level of service without having to do really costly road windings. So one of the first steps for that is issue identification. And so we want to identify and choose evacuation topics or issues that we want to do further analysis on. This is the first step. I'll get to that in a moment. But potential topics could be evacuation behavior changes over time based on past evacuation. And the state just finished a statewide study that the Regional Planning Council is sharing with us that has cell phone data regarding that. So we want to look at bottlenecks on evacuation routes or near shelters or transit opportunities during evacuation. So one of the initial steps were in this kind of issue identification and data gathering stages to get community input. To that, on August 25th, Wednesday evening, 4:30 to 6:30, we're inviting citizens to a virtual open house to learn about the study, but also provide input at that time. And we're going to do some interactive polling and a Q&A session. So there are 2 sessions run 1 per hour to give people more opportunity to participate. At that time, we'll launch a quick online survey to supplement the statewide survey that will stay on the website for 90 days. When I'm done talking, I'm going to put the information flyer in the chat for you, and we'll be sending this out to all our planning partners, committees, and doing social media outreach. And I ask that if you could share this with your constituents, that would be really helpful. You can easily sign up for the open house. The flyer will have that by clicking on a registration link, and you're seeing the website right now that provides more information that we will be continually updating. Right now, there's a static map for the hurricane evacuations, but we will be introducing a interactive map at the open house as well. So it's a pretty quick study. The final report, we're trying to wrap up by December or early January, and that's going to combine the research and analysis that we have, trying to take a more holistic look at the county's evacuation conditions and some options that we may have. At that time, we're going to have a second open house and wrap-up survey to gather feedback in the draft report before we wrap everything up. And that, in a nutshell, is, the start of our study. And I'd be happy to answer any questions now, or you can email me with additional questions or call me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions at this time?
Commissioner Smith?
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
Hi.
Hi.
So you said you're looking at data and even cell phone data of past evacuations?
Yes.
And
Sorry.
yeah, so, I mean, it seems to me that the population in the coastal area and throughout the county but in the evacuation zones is increasing, exponentially, dramatically, year over year. And at the same time, our evacuation events have not been that scary yet, or recently. And so it's not like we've had a major evacuation event in the last few years or several years. So how do you, extrapolate from what we've done for relatively minor storms with less population to what might happen projecting population growth in the next several years for a more frightening evacuation event where more people would evacuate than have so far or recently?
It's a good question. One of the challenges with the Tampa Bay area is we are frequently listed internationally and nationally as one of the most vulnerable areas in the United States. However, we actually haven't had a direct hit in coming on 100 years now, so we always have near misses. The cell phone data I mentioned, we're trying very hard to be, wise with our consultant resources, and we are drawing on the Florida Department of Emergency Management's statewide regional study, which is where the cell phone data is coming from. And I'm going to look more into your specific question. I can't quite address it fully right now, but they are really looking at, they're looking at Floridians who live here and visitors, and they're actually looking at historic hurricanes. So we're looking at Matthew in 2016, Irma in 2017, and Michael in 2018, and, looking at behaviors for Category 1 hurricanes through Category 5s in each evacuation zone. So I think they're going to be making some extrapolations from that. But I think when we have more, when we get further in the study, I'll be able to better address that question of how to extrapolate the population, increasing population in coastal areas. So this report from Regional Planning Council is just about to hit, it's just about to come out, but we have some preliminary data.
Thank you. Yeah, I would think we need to project population and then also population growth, and then also, magnified, larger storm and rain events, but also understanding that as sea level rises and as our rain events are more and more intense, we'll have more of our roads underwater. And so that makes it more and more important for us to be providing a grid of alternate routes as we develop. And I'm reminded of a storm that I was not yet a commissioner, but Commissioner Kemp was. And she was very involved in the emergency preparations that were going on. And I called her and said, this would be a moment. I called her as my commissioner. I was a constituent at that time. And I said, this would be a moment where we need to make sure that the emergency entrances and exits are open for everybody, not just ambulances and fire trucks like they sometimes open them for, but for everyone. I'm familiar with some of these developments in Ruskin that are gated communities that everybody has to drive around most times, but they do have some emergency access, and opening those up, particularly in the area of Shell Point Road that floods frequently, could offer alternate routes through these developments in situations of flooded street flooding. So, I hope we'll incorporate or look at some possibilities of doing things like that to add evacuation avenues, and also just as we grow and as we develop, to keep in mind that that's another reason for connectivity is in not just a major hurricane, but in some of our everyday rain events when it sacks in for a few days and the streets get really, really flooded. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that. I'm taking down some notes. I think one of the things we're hoping to do is identify the top major 10 choke points. It's too early in the process for that, but we've been thinking about that already and working with our stakeholders on that. And you mentioned something really important, is that the state survey has cell phone data where people evacuate, but it's also looking at behaviors. So we know that, one option is always to widen the roads to increase level of service, but we really think that maybe that's not always the best answer. And so alternate routes, and also looking at the behavior to see do people really need to evacuate at that time? Who's evacuating? How far are they? Where are they going? Might even take a look at whether pet shelters are a factor, whether people evacuate or not. Often you have people evacuating that don't need to, and people who really should that don't. So in a hurricane evacuation declaration, immediately all mobile homes have to evacuate, no matter what zone you're in. So that will affect, traffic throughout the county. But thank you for your input.
So even though I'm in a very high flood, vulnerable area personally, I don't have to evacuate if I evacuate clear to Georgia. I mean, I can just go up to Sun City Center and not be contributing to that whole pipeline of people trying to get out of the state. So
Yeah, that was part of the problem during Irma. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cullen.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think because of the fact that,
You hear him.
Yeah, is your mic on?
I'm sorry, my mic does appear to be on, the green light is on.
I can't quite hear.
I think it's not bright, though. Hit it.
There we
Yeah,
go, thank
yeah.
you, sorry. You know, Commissioner Smith made a good point earlier that we haven't really been tested by the big one. But what we have had and what we do have are a lot of potentially bad events that then at the last minute we seem to escape. And one of the things that strikes me about like where we are right this minute, looking at a storm that's heading toward us this weekend, is that we ought to use these opportunities where there's a small percentage chance that it's going to be very bad, but most likely isn't, to practice a lot of the things that we're going to identify as the things that are going to need to happen. And while you can't and don't want to stage a full-scale evacuation or anything like that, you can have other smaller kinds of tests that can really test your resiliency in a lot of different areas, particularly as it relates to the supply chain and things like you were talking about with pets and things like that. You know, one of the things that we did when I worked at the clerk's office, the clerk of the circuit court's office here in Hillsborough County, was when we would be in an event like we are right now, where something was coming toward us, we would go ahead and test out our response plans and go ahead and ask people to simulate what they would be doing to get ready for a big storm in order to then, you know, figure out what worked and what didn't. And I would suggest that as we go through these evaluations, one thing that we can do to make the information really meaningful is test it out. And the best time to test it out is when a real live event is happening, and there just is that chance that that the test case scenario is gonna turn real.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We're actually working very closely with the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County's emergency management. I'm hoping that they will actually actively participate in the open house I mentioned, because there will be a lot of questions just about general evacuations. We're lucky and unlucky because it's going to be a very active season this year. You know, we're in the midst of it right now. So the tropical storm, like you said, will be here Saturday.
So I myself wasn't going to add any comments, but I had been thinking about some of the things that Commissioner Smith had brought up. And one is that I think that there is a lot of confusion about shelter in place and how we don't have to go for long distances to fill the roads and that whole point. I just, I know that Commissioner Smith has evacuation plans to Sun City, but just moving inland or to higher ground nearby is certainly kind of the first. And for people who don't want to go to shelters, you know, there are a lot of hotels and opportunities just a little bit inland that probably aren't being used at the time that, you know, people tend to leave before the hurricane hits if they're from out of town. So I just, you know, that scenario I think is important. I also think a new, when we talked about supply chains and whatever, one of the things that I think a lot about is our gas supplies, natural gas supplies, but electric and solar. And solar has, and I guess this isn't part of this, except that we're moving into more electric transportation. And solar has apparently proven, because I kind of watched this after the storms, to be extremely resilient. The only, for instance, hospital in Puerto Rico, when they were hit so hard, that was able to maintain was the hospital that had already been solar powered. And that has, and it was true in Fort Myers too, and Cape Coral. I think they went and they kind of got hit rather hard at the time, and the panels were able to operate within hours, later when the sun comes out. Although I guess the mechanism sometimes because of when the grid's down, not feeding into the grid, but I understand that there's a technique that's pretty simple that could get at least and I'm sure hospitals use it to get, power operating right away without returning anything to the grid and making it safe. But I was thinking, I guess that's not part of this, but, I think a lot about that. Also, the pet shelters, I think, is huge because I worked as an aide to Kathy Castor in 2004. And if you remember, there were 2 months there that we had 4 hurricanes in 2 months, and one that was supposed to powerfully, Charlie, I guess, that hit south of here. And yard waste, I won't even go there, but anyway, I'll read afterwards. But in terms of, there was very little available in terms of pet shelters there, and it was hugely refusing to evacuate. And recently when we've had reports at the county about the pet shelters, it has increased astronomically. I mean, I think practically every shelter, I'm amazed at how well what's been done with that. And I'm not sure people are quite aware of how accommodating, and even for, I don't know, they were saying like 20 different kinds of pets. I'm not even sure what it was out there, but I think that there's been great improvements in Hillsborough County in terms of that. So I just think those are all, I don't know, they play in there. Worth, I guess, considering and thinking about when we think about the overall. But I really think the message of sheltering in place or sheltering nearby is one that really needs to be emphasized more as a possibility, and to allow people to think about that.
Yeah, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. I think behavioral changes is one way to improve those levels of service without doing any infrastructure changes. And the statewide study actually didn't call out whether pets were a factor, but we plan on digging a little bit more into that, whether people are staying or going because of the pets. I think we have one more question.
Mr.
I have a
Do we,
question.
sorry, Commissioner Overman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the comments. I recognize Commissioner Smith's place and the fact that you're in an area that would be flooded, and we've seen the maps that show the increased risk of flooding in our area due to sea level rise and other issues. But I think it's important to recognize we're also starting to see a hurricane pattern change that we haven't really seen as frequently. When I moved here in '84, most of the hurricanes came from the east to the west. And by the time they came to Hillsborough County, all the hotels were full with everybody that came from the east. The shelters were full from everybody that came from the east. And we really didn't have a pet strategy. So many people ended up staying in their homes when they weren't necessarily, it wasn't wise to do so. So you had to find an inland hotel that would actually take you and the pet, and that's not an easy task. But I think we're starting to see a pattern that it looks like we're going to see it with Fred, and we just saw it in the storm that came, that it appears as though the patterning looks like it's starting to come up the Gulf side and possibly up the bay more than we have seen in many decades, actually. And that's a huge risk when you look at the shelter-in-place strategy, because in those areas where shelter-in-place would seem okay, the housing stock isn't secure enough to actually sustain a Category 3, 4, or 5 storm. In other words, it's high enough for them to be advised to stay, but the housing stock is old enough that it wouldn't survive. So people make the decision, well, I'm not in a flood area, so I don't need to go anywhere, but then the tree falls on their house and kills everybody in the house. That's not a good scenario, right? So we do need to identify in those communities of concern where the housing stock may, and the income in that area may suggest that it's the wise thing to stay, when in all reality, those individuals may be best served by moving to a nearby shelter. And that's going to affect our capacity numbers. And so, and how we manage that. Possibly suggesting that if we reach out to local, hotels to say, can you open your doors? Because that did happen, I believe, in '85 when Elena came through. So having that communication network as part of our EOC strategy or emergency operations strategy, especially in those vulnerable communities, may be something we should consider if, in fact, we have areas where the housing stock would put people at risk, even though their elevation would suggest that they could stay in place. And resources matter. If you can't go rent a hotel because you don't have the budget that week, you're going to stay where you are, unfortunately, and put yourself at risk. And that's why I appreciate you looking at this from a different angle than what we do about moving everybody to a shelter, or as Commissioner Smith said, not telling everybody to drive to Georgia. So, or consider that's the solution. So, and I'll stop there. But I think that's something else we can work with our emergency operation teams to give them some guidance on alternative methods to help people move from place to place. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Klug had his hand
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, you're so far down there that
Very good.
I was just noticing that I could almost not see you through the
Yeah, pretty far
plexiglass
away over here.
layers.
Yes, I would just want to applaud the study, and I think that's something we do every year at the port. And so every May, before the start of hurricane season, we do a tabletop hurricane planning session. We invite the National Weather Service, NOAA, TECO, all the industries, to participate in this and see what happens in different scenarios. And we try to role play or game, as far as what if that was Katrina hit Tampa or Irma had switched, and it went over farther to the west. How would we be able to get, freight in and out of the port? But that same thing applies to the things you're looking at in this study as well, is do this every year. We do a hot wash after a storm. Fortunately, we haven't had a hurricane in 100 years, but we plan for it every year. And after one of those near misses, we go back and look at what could we have done better? How can we, do things quicker, more responsive, and role play these situations? So I would encourage that be done as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that I'm missing here? Okay,
Commissioner Kemp, if I could, just 2 seconds.
sure.
Just a quick question. Do we have in our emergency strategy early warning systems? Much like the information that we all get on our cell phones, Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, severe storm weather alerts. Do we have these type of alerts that can be sent out when it is time for people in low-lying areas to evacuate? Do we also have within our power to assist the less fortunate people who do not have the opportunity to get out of their neighborhoods during an evacuation?
So I can answer that on a general level. I think I would have to defer to the emergency management experts, but I know that alerts do come through because I personally receive them for Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa since I live near USF. So there is an early warning system. And as far as vulnerable populations, I mentioned that we're working with the school board and the Sunshine Line and HART. Those areas that are maybe more transit dependent or people who can't travel by their own means are actually being addressed in the EOC plans. I'm not the expert on that, so I'm hesitant to say more than that, but we are working with them on the routes that they have in the study.
Ms. Kemp, Commissioner Kemp, just one follow-up question. What levels do we have this early warning system? Is it several different levels where the first warning system may come, hey, it's time to start thinking about it. The second warning is, hey, you better get out. The third is, it's time to leave. Is there several different layers of this early warning system?
I may have to check with our emergency management manager and get back to you, so I don't want to misspeak. I imagine there is, as far as this populations that are more dependent on the Sunshine Line or HART, I think they have to pre-register. I know for the Sunshine Line, you have to pre-register. So there are certain levels. And I think one of the challenges is actually getting them to register so that when it comes time you have to evacuate them, that you're able to. So there's a lot of soft issues there, but I can find out more specifically for you and send you that information.
Thank you for your comments. Information is the key, and as more information that people have, the better off we are. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Councilman Citro, just to, and that'll be good to get that information, but just like Ms. Ye, I also get alerts from the city of Tampa and from Hillsborough County as well, not just because I'm a commissioner, but as on a public kind of serve.
And
But-
again, I get those too, but I'm more interested in
Right.
hurricane alerts, and I haven't seen any evacuation alerts in the last 20 years.
Right, well, I have. But but also, as Ms. Ye said, there is a pretty rigorous whole setup of registration ahead of time of, for people that have disabilities to be evacuated like 4 days before so that they can actually get, services for people that need special services, like continuous electricity, and things like that for, any kind of monitors or oxygen. There is a whole protocol that's pretty large in place, and with HART and with Sunshine Line, which is Hillsborough County's paratransit transit operation in addition to HART. It's all, if we ever did some information about that, that in itself would be a long session of protocols, but I've seen it working, not that, I'm just assuring that there is some pretty serious operation like that in place. I've also seen it where they've actually had employees down knocking at trailer parks and trying to get people to evacuate who have refused. I even saw where there was a video of a woman who said, and she was in an extremely dangerous area, and luckily the storm didn't hit, and it was hours before, was offered that and pointed to a float that she had and said, if the water comes through, I'll be using this. And it was pretty terrifying to watch that, but, people can opt for what they opt for, but it probably can always be strengthened, a system like that, but there is a really rigorous and very broad and, strong protocol in place.
Exactly. Florida is known for being transient, whether or not we are snowbirds or not, whether or not we move from one section of the city or not. Information is key. To keep up with that information and dispersing it properly will help everybody, especially during hurricane season. Thank you, Councilman. Excuse me. Thank you, Commissioner.
And with that, I don't know if there's any other questions to be had. Okay, so we will move now to smart cities, our smart city master plan. Mr. Wong? I see it up there. I do not hear anything.
Mr. Wong, are you online with us? You're muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that, so sorry.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, I'm here, thank you. I'm going to quickly power through this and try to leave time for Wade to wrap up after I'm done. Johnny Wong, TPO staff. I'm here to give you a presentation on an update to the status of the Smart Cities Mobility Plan. We're working on this currently. We're hoping to bring you a final for approval in the next couple months. This presentation initially was intended to have several topics that are related, kind of wrap up into talking about how to integrate this work into the TIP. We'll see if we get there. Just to set a little bit of context, I want to talk about what being a smart city means. In doing research for this plan with my team, we learned that there are huge differences between how planners view smart cities and how media and entertainment visualize them. I pulled all of the images that are shown around this slide off of Google. These are artistic renderings, but these are commonplace all across the internet, and all the images make it seem as if smart cities are super clean. A lot of these images have little circles floating in the air to represent all of the industries in which smart cities technologies can have an impact. I know you can't see what these little graphics are, but they're images of solar panels, traffic signals, factories, basically intending to show that science and technology can pervade all aspects of a city and what a city, the functions that a city performs. Notably, there are no images of people in any of these graphics, which led us to believe that there's huge limitations in how existing smart cities plans conceptualize the impacts of deploying these technologies. I found this chart online, which I like much better because those previous images show you a visualization of a smart city at 10,000 feet, but the devil is in the details. And this image shows what we're trying to accomplish with our smart cities plan. Of course, it's a feedback loop, so it can be understood by beginning anywhere around the circle. But if we look to the left first, where you see collect, it indicates that deploying technologies that can passively collect data like sensors, transactional machines. This is how we collect data on transactions between residents, who are our customers, and city service delivery or service provision. And it doesn't really matter if that service is water delivery, parking management, traffic management, planning, they all pretty much work the same. So we have technologies that allow us to collect individual data or data on individuals. We bundle them all together and create a data set. Once we have that data, we can analyze it with a number of our tools to determine how our service delivery is being responded to by the general public. And then we collect information on that response and we use it to attempt to improve our processes. And the cycle continues. So the reason why I like this chart is because it shows that the end game of deploying smart cities technologies is to continue optimizing our services. And for the TPO, that could mean making it a safer city, a less congested city, cleaner air, you name it. In my team's research, we found a lot of examples of cities attempting to optimize service delivery by deploying technologies. All the plans go to great pains to extol the virtues of the technology. There weren't that many critiques offered in the plans. We had to dig a lot deeper to kind of uncover the challenges inherent to citying smarter. So the first example that we want to share with you comes from our experience at the TPO. And just in a nutshell, we're always attempting to innovate our planning process. Our planning processes, we're constantly reviewing new data sets, new models, technologies, in a goal for the goal of improving our processes. We understand that to improve requires a lot of information technology resources, a lot of engineering-oriented staff, time plus energy. Clearly, some agencies have a greater ability to innovate, right? And it's typically the agencies that already have a good amount of resources. These are the ones that can afford to invest in technology to compute data, who can afford to invest in human capital to do the analysis. And I've talked about this in other webinars on similar topics. It creates some inequity across agencies. So the implication of deploying these technologies could be unevenness in the level of planning aptitude that you see across the county, cities, and other agencies. One way around this is for agencies to seek to share data and insights with one another. Some other critiques that we discovered in the research, well, there's actually a lot, but one that I want to specifically call out because I think this is something that we should pay a lot of attention to, is that deploying advanced technology has a lot of potential to reproduce or exacerbate existing social and urban inequalities. The thought behind this is that the more emphasis we put on developing a smart city, the more that we lead the public to expect that smart cities approaches will yield better results than traditional approaches, and that's not always the case. We can look at several examples from around the nation. One technology that we can call out specifically is a smart parking system. These have worked amazingly well, especially in Hillsborough County and Tampa's urban core, because it makes it very easy to reserve parking. The transaction is very frictionless. It's very easy. However, we have to recognize that to make this system work or to participate in it, residents need to have a bank account. They need to have a smartphone app, the app. They need to have internet access. So there's a lot that goes into making this system function. And if any single piece of that system is unavailable to a resident, they cannot participate in the system. In getting into what our smart cities plan is attempting to accomplish and drawing attention to the critiques or the limitations of existing plans, I'm not trying to say that our approach has resolved or avoided all the trappings of other smart cities. We haven't found a way around exacerbating all the inequalities. However, what we're doing differently is that we're welcoming critiques. So we've spent a lot of time and effort in reaching out to the real public, not just planning agency staff or our peers in other government agencies. We're trying to talk to real people to understand what their expectations, fears, and apprehensions are as these technologies start to come out. In addition to the work that we're doing as a team to create the Smart Cities plan, there are some cues that we've taken from an existing alliance, which you may have heard of. The Tampa Bay Smart Cities Alliance has done a great deal of work to guide the development of this plan. There are 3 action tracks that kind of like form the basis of the plan. One of them is a goal of reimagining infrastructure. Another goal is to deploy mobility as a service technologies. And the third is an emphasis on data analytics. So all of the technologies that we have evaluated as part of this plan touch each one of those focus points for the Smart Cities Alliance. Our Smart Cities plan does not go so far as to tell the public or our colleagues what a smart city is. In defining this concept in the plan, we wanted to take a more holistic approach in that we identified maybe 30 to 40 technologies that exist. We determined how each one of those could improve upon a community need, whether that be safety, congestion, mobility, all the goals that are established in our LRTP, and to determine what the best way to roll out the tech deployment, we created fact sheets. So each of those technologies that I mentioned has a fact sheet associated with it to show the public what the technology is, what it can do, what the potential harms, risks, or limitations of it are, what area of focus it can move the needle on, right, like safety, mobility, congestion, etc. We identified use cases in which the technology was deployed successfully, and this is going to become a really great resource for planners, because what we found is that a lot of planners have not heard of many of these technologies, and for those who have heard of them, they may not be so familiar with what they can actually accomplish. So by creating this fact sheet booklet, we're hoping that more smart cities technologies will be integrated into corridor level plans or area plans. We also created a new prioritization tool to help us rank the benefits of competing smart cities technologies. The reason why we created this prioritization tool is because we encountered a problem in our TIP prioritization process this year. We've also incurred it in past years, but in a nutshell, the problem is that we have this investment program called Smart Cities, which is designed to fund projects that reduce delay and improve traffic flow. But the majority of the projects in that investment program are not what most folks would consider traditional, or what most folks would consider smart cities projects. The vast majority of the projects in our Smart Cities program are traditional intersection improvements. And so we haven't really seen the build out of smart cities technologies in the way that we would expect. So because we have a smart cities program that's dominated by traditional projects, we had to develop a methodology to rank traditional projects, which is fine. It works great for the types of projects that are submitted to us. However, when we get emergent technologies submitted, the methodology doesn't necessarily fit the technology. It's not ranking it in maybe the most appropriate way. So we've had project submissions come to us like Smart Parking Management System, the HART CAD AVL, you may remember, and our traditional methodology doesn't really fit these all that well. So we came up with a new prioritization tool. Rather than using the current metrics, which again are tailored for traditional projects, there are 8 proposed metrics which will take into consideration alignment with our LRTP goals, cost, time frame to implementation, whether or not the technology facilitates equity, dependencies, risks, limitations, the severity of any risks, benefit cost ratio, and strategic value. We are looking to integrate this new prioritization scheme into the TIP by keeping the traditional methodology that works well for traditional projects, and then having a separate category of smart cities technologies that will be ranked using the new prioritization scheme. And the thought is that of the submissions we get that fit the mold of a smart cities technology, the top 1, 2, 3, or however many could automatically earn a spot toward the top of the Smart Cities investment program. And to facilitate build out of the Smart Cities grid, we could potentially set aside a portion of our SU funds specifically for those kinds of projects so that we can accelerate deployment and help us achieve our Smart Cities vision much faster than we may otherwise be able to. So with the prioritization matrix, again, all of the scoring criteria are shown to the left for you to view. We did a pilot test of some existing projects just to determine whether or not the methodology is kind of meeting our expectations. And the good news is that it did. Using the methodology that we developed, part scheduling software scored very high. You may recall that that project was moved to the top of the Smart Cities investment program at our TIP public hearing just a few months ago. We scored some other projects that are likely to come through the TPO in the near future, and they all scored as we expected them to. So we have some additional steps before we're ready to close out this plan. I did a webinar on this topic several weeks ago, which is posted to YouTube and our webpage. We're drawing traffic to that webinar for folks to view in case they know nothing about smart cities whatsoever. We have the draft plan that's going to be delivered to us by this coming Monday. We're also going to post that to the webpage. We're doing some targeted social media ad buys to continue driving traffic and allowing us to keep collecting feedback. We have a survey that is live now. We distributed it to students during the Great American Teach-In. We also got their parents to take the survey and a number of teachers at Tampa Bay Tech, and we're still drawing traffic to that survey. We're hosting a workshop with technical staff from all of our agency partners to develop consensus about what the end smart cities vision will look like. And following that workshop, which you all will be invited to, we're going to begin committee and board presentations. Again, this is a tangential topic, or a closely related topic, I should say, that may need to have some additional time devoted to it in the future. But the idea is that for the Smart Cities investment program in the TIP, we will definitely need to include some new prioritization criteria, because the traditional methodology we've been using, it just doesn't seem to fit all the projects anymore. We do know that we need to revisit the methodology, because based on the feedback we received for our 2040 LRTP, the community indicated that in order to achieve the goals they want, we would have to invest a lot more money in Vision Zero and Real Choices When Not Driving programs. This graphic on the screen kind of shows how, according to the community's desires, the transportation funding would be allocated. And of course, there is a huge difference between the amount of money that can be allocated with a surtax versus without a surtax. But the point I want to drive home is that we are definitely over allocating money to state of good repair system, or state of good repair investment program. We're under allocating to Vision Zero and Real Choices. Smart Cities is very close. The takeaway here should be that with the existing limited amount of funding that we have, after state of good repair is funded, there's very little left over for Vision Zero, Smart Cities, and Real Choices. And if that trend continues, it'll be very difficult for us to achieve our Smart Cities vision in the future. And we can talk about proposals for how we can divide SU funds maybe at a later time. I know I'm running out of time and I want to move through this, but this is a topic that we should definitely revisit in the future. And that about wraps it up. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have or facilitate a conversation.
Thank you, and I'd just like to let everyone know that we are going to adjourn at 9:55, so we're going to move the USF Area Trail Feasibility Study to next month, just before we start this, because we only have 6 or 7 minutes here to transition then to the regular TPO meeting. So if you have comments or questions, if we could just keep them tight at this point.
I will make it very short.
Go ahead, Commissioner Overman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Johnny, for this report. The clear prioritization of internet access and building our internet infrastructure became obvious in the pandemic last year, when we realized our communications to people were highly challenged when people didn't have access to internet. So to connect the smart cities efforts, making internet access as an investment in our infrastructure becomes a real big priority. And when you show that the state of good repair is there, how we can match that up, so when we're resurfacing the road, that we lay the internet access in concert with it, is one way to not resurface a road twice, or to use that right away in order to increase access. And to increase access in all of our county resources, state resources, community resources, so that people can tap into it, in order to address the inequities associated with that distribution. So I appreciate your report and look forward to seeing how we can include that in our prioritization as far as the TIP is concerned, because while it's not a road, it's definitely a road to access to information and services that government provides. I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other comments at this time? I'll just say that I can appreciate the realignment. I wouldn't have really understood quite exactly what you were doing, but Ms. Alden told me at the TIP meeting when I asked the question about the balance between very minor intersection projects, 3 in Plant City, if I remember correctly. I'm just bringing that up to memory here. There was 3 intersection projects in terms of smart cities in Plant City, and then there was a major HART project. And I couldn't possibly, I said, how do we possibly balance this? Why wouldn't other cities and unincorporated county be, putting in requests as well? So I appreciate that there was some kind of metrics and analysis put to that to help us better prioritize and think about how we fund projects. So that, thank you for doing that, because I thought it was kind of difficult to being in that position to understand how that would work. So I know that was, some of the work that was done here. And I would just say too, with the state of good repair, it would seem that the reason that we have so much money invested in the state of good repair, because that also is used for purchasing, is it not, for new buses purchase? Which we're desperately behind on buses, we're desperately behind on so much. And so while we see that big part of it go to the state of good repair, it's also a desperate need at this time until we have more resources. As I've said before, HART is the most underfunded transit system in the nation for a metro area this size, not just by a small amount, but by a huge, incredible need. It's, more than a decade of what I'd call crisis need. So while we can look at that, it's I think so much gets invested in the state of good repair, and it's not even enough because there's just so little resource. So did you want to respond to that, Ms. Alden?
Thank you so much. And you're right. What Johnny's pie chart shows is that the limited resources that we have are being focused very much on state of good repair. And that's not necessarily an irrational decision. It's just that that's where we are right now. So your question about how do we take a rational approach with our Smart Cities program, we are basically evolving what has been a program focused on transportation system management and operations, and moving that more into what can technology do for us. And so Johnny's work is going to help us be able to bring to you a recommendation for how to look at all of those projects in an integrated way.
Great, thank you. I didn't know if anybody else has a minute of comment before we move out of this. Okay, so seeing no other comments, I'll just, we don't have much time, but old business, new business. And seeing none, we stand adjourned so we can get ready for the TPO at 10 o'clock.
and they're all proven wrong.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the TPO Board for Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. We will go ahead and stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a roll call. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and if the clerk would please call the roll.
Commissioner Cohen,
Here.
Commissioner Kemp,
Here.
Commissioner Overman,
Here.
Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Mayor Ross,
Here.
Joe Lopano,
Here.
Eric Johnson,
Here.
Charles Klug,
Here.
Bob Frey, Derek Doughty,
Here.
Nate Kilton,
Here.
Councilman Maniscalco,
Here.
Councilman Citro,
Here.
Councilman Dingfelder, and Jessica Vaughn.
All right, thank you very much. And now we will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 9th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from, I'm going by my ear, Commissioner Kemp, seconded, who seconded? By Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we go to public comment, we have some special presentations this morning, and I'm going to ask Lisa Silva to take us through them.
Good morning. Today we will briefly announce 3 safety and advocacy awards. First, each year at the Gulf Coast Safe Streets Summit, the Hillsborough TPO recognizes an outstanding contribution to traffic safety from one of our community members by presenting either a Vision Zero Hero or a Bob the Builder award. So there's 2 categories. Last year's summit was completely virtual, and in the process of the year, we've received the actual physical award since the county center's open, and we have our recipient here today. We thought we'd take a moment to acknowledge them in person. So Robert Campbell with Hillsborough Public Works was recognized as this last year's Bob the Builder Award. You do not have to be named Bob to receive the award, but he does go by Bob. And then, because a lot of time has elapsed, we're now in the recruiting situation for this year's Gulf Coast Safe Streets Summit, which will be November 2nd through the 4th. It will be virtual for the presentations portion of the summit over those days. And then each TPO, MPO is allowed to have an in-person mobile workshop. We have designed a bike tour of all the Paint Saves Lives projects that have been implemented recently to show how you can get to Vision Zero quickly with some low-cost engineering solutions. So that's scheduled for November 3rd. So we are in the recruiting period. So if you know some great community advocates that could be acknowledged, like Bob Campbell, for this next year, the link is in your agenda packet. So I'm your liaison for our portion of the Gulf Coast Safe Streets Summits, November 2nd through the 4th. Mark your calendar. Just a little plug for our other partners. Bike Walk Tampa Bay typically hosts a fall summit as well. So this year I said, hey, how about we partner them together, because we have a lot of the same audience in mind. So that will be on November 5th. So they're all bookended together. So I think now we'll pause to let Robert Campbell receive his award from Chair Cohen.
Thank you very much, Lisa. So our first award this morning is to Robert Campbell, Section Manager, Transportation Engineering, Hillsborough County Public Works Department. Bob Campbell has been reconstructing roadways in unincorporated Hillsborough County from one end to the other. Several examples are on the high injury network, adding raised crosswalks, new sidewalks, RRFBs, and more. He also strongly pushes for street lighting and roundabouts. In addition to these duties, Bob chairs FDOT's Community Traffic Safety Team, where he provides leadership on several topics, including and notably Safe Route to Schools projects. So it is for all of that that we present Bob, and Lisa stole my joke, you don't have to be named Bob to win the Bob the Builder Award from the Hillsborough TPO.
Okay.
And I believe our next award is going to be presented by Councilman Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. If I may, is there a microphone over next to Arizona?
There is not, so if you speak.
All right. Arizona has been a friend of livable roadways for quite some time. On July 15th, the city of Tampa recognized Arizona Jenkins' many achievements as a recipient of a commendation. Today, I am proud to present our friend, Arizona, with the Delio Valdez Leadership Advocacy Award. Ladies and gentlemen, as a longtime member of the Livable Roadways, thank you. Is that better? Thank you. He has had a passion for the advocating of persons of all abilities. Mr. Jenkins has guided our TPO to continue to make investments with the needs of all people in mind. Through New Horizons Support Group, he has worked tirelessly as a mentor and with the youth of our city to be a champion in their own cause and independence, including transportation training, self-advocacy training, Arizona's kindness, generosity of spirit, and inspiration leadership have made our community a better place. Arizona is a giant in our community, and I am proud to present him as this year's recipient of the Adelio Valdez Leadership Award.
Okay, thank you very much. And then our third award this morning is going to be presented by Beth Alden. Ms. Alden.
Well, I will announce it, and if we could have Paula Flores come forward and bring the award, and then we'll invite all of the board members in just a moment to stand up so that we can take a photograph. Ms. Paula Flores, the project manager of the TPO Speed Management Action Plan, is pleased to announce that the Hillsborough TPO has been selected to receive an international award for that Speed Management Action Plan. The ITE Transportation Achievement Awards recognize excellence in the advancement of transportation to meet human needs by entities concerned with transportation, such as governmental agencies, legislative bodies, consulting firms, industry, and other organizations. This is the fourth award presented for this TPO Vision Zero project, and probably the most significant as an international award. As a recipient of this award, the TPO was honored during ITE's biggest event of the year, the annual meeting and exhibition in July 2021, and will soon be highlighted in the ITE Journal. And if we could invite everyone to stand up in place so that we can take a photograph. And if, Paula, if you could stand forward and hold the award and face Lisa.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We are going to move on now to public comment. We have 3 minutes set aside per speaker. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment this morning?
Mr. Chair, yes, we do. I'm just going to go down the list right now. Andy Van Clevey, are you here? Okay, do we have a Rick Fernandez on the line? Kisha Linebaugh?
I'm here virtually, but I wasn't able to dial in. May I still comment? Yeah.
Why not?
Yes, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I can. Okay, great.
Yes.
So yes, my name is Keisha Linebaugh, and I've been a resident of Hillsborough County off and on since 1989. And in that time, I've used public transit. I've attempted to commute and use my bicycle for transportation to and from work. And I'm here today to talk about the transportation and equity plan that was set forward by the Planning Committee. In my experience, it's been a very dangerous situation to be a pedestrian or a cyclist in Hillsborough County. I was actually run off my bicycle on Bayshore Drive before more safety measures were implemented. I now live in the Seminole Heights area where we struggle with sidewalks that are so close to the road that if there's debris or a light pole on the sidewalks, you get run off. Another challenge that I face is that I have a hearing disorder that doesn't allow me to hear traffic or city buses coming. And so I'm here today to just speak out on behalf of myself for a safer Tampa Bay and for my community regarding the things that need to be done so that we can all access our public transit, our roadways, and our sidewalks and really enjoy the things that this city has without having a car. So I do really, really implore you today to please go ahead and finalize the non-discrimination and equity plan of 2021. I think that it will benefit us and be a great step in the right direction towards making Tampa a more pedestrian-friendly and walkable city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have additional speakers?
I'm signed up to speak as a public comment. My name is Dima Abu-Alam.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for the clerk to help me out with this because I don't have a speakers list.
Okay, I was just making sure that
Sure,
I had to chime in. Yeah, I'll wait to be called.
thanks.
So our HTV staff has the list.
Okay.
Yes, Diamond, go ahead.
No, we're waiting for you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Dima Abu-Alam, and I'd like to show my support for Plan Hillsborough's non-discrimination and equity plan, and I encourage the board to vote to approve it. My main reason for the approval is because I'm comforted by the team that led the plan. One person in particular is Dana Lazarus. Dana recognizes the flaws of systemic racism within our county's infrastructure, and she and her team, including her director, Melissa Zoranita, has made it their mission to improve the dialogue between the underrepresented in our community. Thanks to their awareness and willingness to improve and understand all people within our community. Like, they really made that extra effort to kind of bring in diverse backgrounds of different people. Specifically, I know within my community, the Muslim community, and the refugees that have been within as new immigrants within the community, they took the time to talk with us and the people that we represent, and to understand all the people and their situations, especially now with the new administration. We're going to have a lot more refugees coming into the country, and they are starting from scratch. So We as citizens can rest assured that the leadership in place have the interests of all people at heart, and I believe that makes the good plan great. So it's the people who ensure it's to succeed. So I highly encourage the board to vote to approve it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that we have a few people that signed up, but they are not signed into the meeting. I just want to make sure they're not here. Shane Regal, are you here? Or Janice Martin? And Rick Fernandez. I believe that's all we had signed in for, or signed up for public comment, but those people have not signed up yet.
Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, we are going to move on now to committee reports, and I see Bill Roberts is here, the CAC chair. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Chairman Cohen. Good morning, members of the TPO. I'm Bill Roberts. I chair your Citizens Advisory Committee. I have two meetings to give a brief report on. The first is our July 14th meeting, where your Citizens Advisory Committee met virtually and heard some status reports. We heard a status report on the USF Green Artery Trail Study. The CAC members asked about speed reduction along state roads, the need for safe crossings, and especially the need for the Green Artery getting across the Hillsborough River in safety. Also, we heard a status report on the I-275 Boulevard study. Members expressed interest in reviving this study, and I would ask that the TPO consider revising and working with staff to revive or continue this project. And then finally in July, we heard a report on the non-discrimination plan for public involvement findings. Members of our committee expressed interest and appreciation for the depth of this report, and we were looking forward to the final report. That leads us to a brief report on our August 4th Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. The committee did approve the non-discrimination and equity plan. Members requested follow-up progress reports to see how the plan is being implemented, and they inquired about the recommendations to remove technical seats from the non-technical committees. They thought this might be something worth considering. At August, AC also heard status reports on the Gandy PD&E study kickoff, which is on the TPO's agenda today. We heard a status report on the Heights Mobility Study Next Steps. And we had a very interesting presentation on eminent domain and the relocation process from the Florida Department of Transportation. FDOT gave a very informative overview of the steps they take to acquire properties by eminent domain and the steps they take to relocate and accommodate needs of the owners and the tenants. Finally, I would just add that you have an appointment to the CAC on your consent agenda this morning, and we certainly support that appointment. And I want to express my regret at the loss of a committee member, and so I would encourage Commissioner Smith to make a new appointment as soon as possible so we can fill that very important seat from South County. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions from the TPO committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. I don't see any questions at this time. And with that, we will move on to Ms. DeVita Franklin, TPO staff.
Good morning. Here are your committee reports or summary of committee reports and public comments. So pertaining to your action items in today's agenda, other than what Chairman Roberts did review, the Technical Advisory Committee approved the non-discrimination and equity plan. They praised the work that went into developing the plan, and they also heard a status update on the Heights Mobility Study Next Steps, the Storm Evacuation Forecast and Shelter-in-Place Scenario Study, and a couple of other reviews were done of the non-discrimination and equity plan by the Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board, the Livable Roadways Committee, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the Intelligent Transportation System Committee. There were also some status updates reviewed by the Livable Roadways Committee and the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So they heard status updates on the Gandhi Project Development and Environment Study Kickoff and the Florida Department of Transportation's I-275 Downtown Interchange Aesthetics Package. The Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board also heard a status update on this County School Routes Program Development Process and the Safe Routes to Schools projects, and they approved the minor update of the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan, their annual bylaws review, and a memorandum of agreement between the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged and the CTC. The Livable Roadways Committee heard a status update on the Branch Forbes Road and State Road 56 ETDM review. The Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee heard a status update on discussion on list of roads planned to be resurfaced, and they also heard about ideas for future presentations and discussion topics. And the Intelligent Transportation System Committee heard status reports on in-road safety lights, smart cities, and the Florida Avenue Intelligent Transportation System Project. Now on to your public comments. For our emails, Carissa W. expressed concerns about US 301 being so busy that it may not adequately accommodate individuals and families needing to evacuate during a hurricane warning. Mauricio Rosas questioned why taxpayers should pay for a bus rapid transit system if it would be run by a private entity. Mika Karras made some suggestions on how to improve transit routes and bus shelters throughout the New Tampa and USF areas. Davey Wolf would like a ferry route from South Hillsborough County to St. Pete as an alternate route to I-275. Robert F. Sawalish shared a petition to address safety concerns at the intersection of Bruce B. Downs Boulevard and Richard Silver Way. That's by the University of South Florida Health Sciences Library, the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, and IQ Luxury Student Apartments. Sam Owens wants to know the short-term plan for resurfacing our roads, fixing sidewalks, and the ongoing congestion in Tampa in lieu of the repealed transportation tax. Mauricio Rosas pointed out issues with the 275 LX bus route, and he suggested HART policymakers should improve efforts to entice white-collar workers to use public transit. He also shared his request for a HART agenda revision that clarifies a statement made by Tampa Bay Partnership CEO Rick Homans. It points to the need for infrastructure improvements to make a bus rapid transit system more effective at creating job access. Sharon Calvert asked about in-person attendance at TPO meetings. Carol Henderson of the Broward MPO thanked Beth Alden and other individuals for participating in the Vision 2100 panel discussion, and Mauricio Rosas shared resident suggestions for pedestrian-friendly aesthetics at underpasses by the I-275 interchange project, as well as reconnecting and repaving several roads that pass through that project, that can pass through that project. For social media comments on Facebook, Dana Lazarus, in response to a post thanking her for leading a FLIP, Future Leaders in Planning, Junior workshop, she said, "It was my pleasure. I hope we left the kids thinking about how everything around them is planned and how they have the power to influence what gets built in their neighborhoods, planting seeds." Brandy Kranjak, in response to the Hillsborough TPO receiving the National ITE Transportation Achievement Award, said, "Nice job, Gina." And Fadia Peterson, in response to a FLIP Junior learning experience involving a T-Coast streetcar ride, she gave applause. What a joke. We'll be a mediocre city as long as we don't take mass transit seriously. That was posted by Tampa Sports Girl in response to a HART service schedule change. And Amy Lee also responded to that change by saying awful. Fadia Peterson also said, the latest version of the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices has drawn criticism for failing to consider non-automotive road users. Municipalities across the U.S., including the Hillsborough TPO, have asked for an overhaul of the manual. Orla Pease, in response to the Fancy Women bike ride that's happening on September 19th, said, I never heard of this, very fun. And Rock King, in response to an invitation to the Flip Jr. Mural Reveal event, said the cover is fantastically beautiful art. Paula Flores, in response to the Hillsborough TPO receiving the National ITE Transportation Achievement Award, said congratulations to the Hillsborough TPO, GPI winner of the ITE 2021 Transportation Achievement Award, planning for the TPO's visionary leadership in development of a speed management action plan. Rock King responded to Broward MPO's panel discussion about climate change and its impact on transportation planning, featuring Beth Alden, said 1 hour of concentrated expertise setting course for the future. Thanks. And then he also said, in response to the August 12th Active Transportation Working Group webinar, he said, no better person to lead, and he applauded Gina. And that concludes my report. Ms. Alden will give a quick report on the policy committee meeting that just occurred. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So just now at the policy committee, we had a detailed discussion about 3 of the studies that the TPO currently has underway. I'd be happy to provide one-on-one briefings to any of the board members that would like to get up to date on those.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for all that information. We are going to move on now to our consent agenda. We have 2 items on consent, committee appointments and the interlocal agreement with USF for air quality monitoring project. Can we please entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Commissioner Myers. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on now. We have 2 action items this morning. The first is the federal quadrennial certification of the TPO, and that will be presented by Teresa Parker of the Federal Highway Administration.
Good morning. Thank
Good morning.
you. So today I will be presenting to you the 2021 Tampa Bay Certification Review Summary of Findings. The site visit for Hillsborough was scheduled on January the 21st. The review team consisted of myself, Jim Martin, Carrie Shepard, Brittany Lavender. The federal review team found 7 noteworthy practices, no corrective actions, and 1 recommendation. The report was signed and finalized on June 30th, 2021. The first noteworthy practice is related to the transportation performance measures, safety target, and methodology, which was presented to our FHW headquarters, our FHW division, FDOT, and other MPOs within the state of Florida, November 2019. The MPO is also commended for developing challenges, lessons learned, and successful practices which they shared at the 2018 peer exchange. The second noteworthy practice is related to the branding corridors and mixed-use center study. This pilot project exemplified collaboration with the Hillsborough MPO and HART to better coordinate the envisioned land use pattern with planned transportation improvements along the major corridor within the branding study area. The third noteworthy practice is related to the public participation plan. We noted that there were 3 notable features. The first is that it's accessible by topic. The second is that the plan strategically uses photos, examples, and an acronym tool for excellent readability in both English and Spanish. Finally, the MPO decided to keep this task in-house and to great effect. The knowledge and expertise of the staff logically link involvement to specific areas of planning concerns such as safety, equity, health, transit, and mobility. The MPO's PPP is a true guiding document that reflects diversity, energy, and pride of the MPO and the communities it serves. The fourth noteworthy practice was also related to outreach and participation. The Federal Review Team commends the MPO for collection and use of raw and layered data to both inform and analyze its decisions. For example, before selecting involvement strategies for the 2045 LRTP, the MPO analyzed outreach data from its 2014 LRTP surveys before selecting involvement strategies for the 2045. The MPO analyzed outreach data from its 2014 LRTP survey. Once it identified communities that historically do not participate, it researched methods likely to prompt engagement, including expanded social media, electronic access, developing short videos with specific topics of interest to the undeserved. The MPO uses an analysis of demographic data is visible in its programs. It supports like Vision Zero, the Coalition of Community Gardens, and Future Leaders in Planning, all of which recognizes the possibility of disparity and the need to understand demography to ensure equity and non-discrimination. The fifth noteworthy practice is related to the Long-Range Transportation Plan, the Resilient Tampa Bay Pilot Project. The Federal Review Team commends the MPO for that pilot project as the lead. The pilot was a proactive effort to collect stakeholder input, identify LRTP strategies to prepare for and ensure safety, mobility, and infrastructure security during and after extreme weather events. The sixth noteworthy practice is also related to the LRTP, the 2020 Excellent Award. The Federal Review Team was pleased to hear that the National Association of Development Organizations awarded the 2020 Excellent in Regional Transportation Award to the Resilient Tampa Bay Transportation Study. The TMA leadership growth exemplifies commitment and continues to strive for excellence for the Tampa Bay TMA. The seventh noteworthy practice is related to the LRTP, It's Time, Hillsborough 2045, that elevated Hillsborough County's transportation needs and prioritized future investments for programs and projects to achieve targets for performance areas by 5 categories. These were good repair and resilience, Vision Zero, smart cities, real choices when not driving, and major investments for economic growth. And finally, there was one recommendation that the Federal Review Team found that the MPO just need to add state versus federal to their cost feasible projects to better provide more transparency. Thank you. This concludes my presentation for Hillsborough MPO.
Thank you very much. That's a great report. I am looking around the room to see if there are any comments or questions. Ms. Alden, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Oh, Mr. Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if that's on or not. Is that on? Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, just in reading the certification report, it looks like, I guess we can all take some credit, but especially Beth and staff for the glowing report that we received. So congratulations, thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we have a great board, I have to say. This group has so much energy and passion, and that enables us all to do great things together. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp.
I just, and not to focus on the negative, but what exactly does the last recommendation mean?
Sure, and so we've actually implemented that recommendation already. So thank you to Teresa for pointing that out. So that it's basically identifying in the long-range plan those cost-feasible, like major projects on the interstate highways. So those are funded in part by federal funds and in part by state funds, and clarifying how that happens.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and seeing no more comments, we will entertain a motion now to accept this report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Dingfelder. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I apologize, it was Councilman Citro that seconded the motion, not Councilman Dingfelder. All those opposed? And there are none opposed. Thank you very much. We are going to move on now to the Non-Discrimination and Equity Plan, and Joshua Barber and Dana Lazarus are going to present that to us. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. I want to confirm you all can see my slides.
We can now.
Yes, again.
Wonderful. So good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and have the opportunity to discuss this update of our non-discrimination and equity plan. My name is Joshua Barber. I've been the project manager for this update and also serve as your Title VI Civil Rights Officer. With me today is Dana Lazarus, who has been our project planner for this update for the past year. And the draft of this document has been provided in your agenda packet, and I hope you've all had some time to review it. And we'll spend the next 20 minutes or so kind of walking through this document. The introductory portions of this report provide an overview of why this document exists. To give a bit of a project background, as you all know, the TPO is funded by planning grants from the modal agencies of the U.S. Department of Transportation, that is the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration. And as a requirement of our planning grants, the TPO must comply with federal rules and regulations, and that includes all the non-discrimination related legislation. Our compliance with these rules is demonstrated through our non-discrimination plan. We last updated this plan in 2018, and that was the first major update in nearly 10 years. Federal guidance moving forward asks us to update this document every 3 years now, and in the initial stages of discussion about this plan update in 2020, we of course all experienced the largest protests for racial equity that our country has experienced since the Civil Rights Movement and the passage of the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Acts. And this brought a renewed focus and interest on these topics in all aspects of our public life. With this renewed focus, the executive leadership of the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission requested that we expand our non-discrimination program to include them as well. And while the US DOT does not hold out the Planning Commission as a subrecipient of federal dollars, meaning they are not required to demonstrate their compliance with federal authorities, staff have found that it makes a lot of sense to do this nonetheless. The Planning Commission does receive and benefit from federal dollars. A portion of the TPO's federal grants are used to pay for the overhead of the entirety of Plan Hillsborough. We have a significant amount of shared staff between our agencies, and the staff of the TPO serve as the transportation planning staff of the Planning Commission. In addition, the staff services agreement between our two agencies clearly outlines the Planning Commission's obligations under non-discrimination authorities, and the regulations of the US DOT are incorporated by reference. And so just to reiterate, this expansion will be a real means of coordinating land use and transportation through unity on issues of civil rights, and it will allow our agencies to provide a more clear and effective public service and speak with one voice on these pressing issues. So what rules and regulations are we specifically talking about? The first table in our report provides an overview and a summary of the relevant federal legislation, executive orders, as well as subsequent regulations issued by the US DOT. And taken together, these acts, orders, regulations define our broad non-discrimination program. And it's these acts, orders, regulations that lead us to our basic civil rights assurance that no person shall on the grounds of their race, color, national origin, sex, gender, sexual orientation, age, income, religion, familiar status, or disability be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination or retaliation under any TPO or Planning Commission sponsored program or activity. And to achieve this basic civil rights assurance, we will participate in training on these requirements, take reasonable steps to provide meaningful access to those with disabilities, to those who are limited English proficient, and that we have a process to collect and map different groups across our county and evaluate the impacts of our plans and projects on those communities, and make every effort to prevent disparate impacts or disproportionate burdens, particularly on low-income and minority communities as a result of our programs, plans, and activities. The last section of the introductory portion of this report reiterates and clearly states the purpose of this plan: to both demonstrate Plan Hillsborough's compliance with federal non-discrimination law, but also to advance equitable processes and more just outcomes above and beyond federal requirements, while remaining true and more thoroughly addressing the original intent and core of these regulations. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that in some future slides. This is an outline of the rest of the report after the introduction. The first part of this report provides an overview of the essential components of Title VI and non-discrimination and how we comply with them. Part 2 does a deep dive into how the TPO is integrated non-discrimination into all of our program areas. And Part 3 does the same for the Planning Commission. And taken together, these sections demonstrate our compliance to date. The next 4 sections of this report help us to more completely understand a few major things. The framework for equity helps us to more completely articulate what is meant when we talk about equity, what we need to think about in our planning processes, and how to form long-term goals. The documentation of the history of racism in planning practice in Hillsborough County serves as an acknowledgement of systemic racism in planning decisions and government, serves to inform our understanding of the intent and core of the Civil Rights Acts and the Fair Housing Acts, which came after them. It serves to help staff and decision makers and elected leaders better grapple with the direct connection between the anti-Black racist planning practices and the inequities we're attempting to address today, and to provide a basis from which the institutions that perpetuated these actions can take a responsibility to address those legacies today. In addition to this, we've conducted a thorough public engagement process, which specifically aimed to hear from individuals and groups that have been underserved and excluded from participation in planning activities and decision-making. This outreach aimed to better understand the perceptions of various groups on their access to housing, transportation, employment, and other essential community services, and their perceptions of how discrimination has shaped that access. Ultimately, these 3 major efforts were used to inform the recommendations of this report, which includes recommendations for the entire agency, for the TPO specifically, and for the comprehensive planning process. Part 1 of this report provides a brief overview of how we comply with these regulations and includes 5 components. Component 1 includes compiling a demographic profile of our metropolitan area and identifying the location of minority and other underserved communities. This is an essential step for ensuring effective and inclusive public engagement and evaluating the outcomes of our programs and activities. Staff have used two methodologies to map the location of historically underserved groups in the county. The first one looks at the top quintile of all block groups by the percentage of a particular group in that block group. This provides discrete areas from which our agencies can examine the impacts of our plans and projects. It can also help target public involvement activities to reach particular groups. The second approach is a dot density approach, which shows the actual distribution of persons and households across the county, not just areas with high concentrations. And taken together, these provide a more complete demographic overview and understanding of our county. Component 2 looks at community engagement, access, and representation. Provides an overview of equity-related efforts Plan Hillsborough has done as part of our strategic plan, efforts at building and maintaining community partnerships. It describes the steps we take for ensuring that people who are limited English proficient can access our programs, as well as steps we take for ensuring accessibility for disabled people in our programs. And finally, it provides a demographic breakdown of the TPO board and advisory committees and the Planning Commission on the basis of race, ethnicity, income, age, gender, and disability for those who responded to our survey. Component 3 looks at how we evaluate community needs and how we evaluate the outcomes of our plans and projects. This is done primarily through GIS analysis for both of our agencies, some examples of which are provided in this report. And the TPO also specifically uses the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model. The maps created as part of this first component, for example, are used to evaluate the impacts of our plans and projects on racial minority, ethnic minority, and low-income persons. Component 4 looks at how we evaluate our outreach effectiveness. The TPO reports on specific outreach from environmental justice zip codes in our measures of effectiveness report, and the entire agency reports on outreach in our annual report. Component 5 looks at the responsibilities of our executive directors, civil rights officer, and all other staff in complying with the non-discrimination regulations. Part 2 provides a deep dive into how the TPO has integrated Title VI, non-discrimination and equity into our program areas. That includes the LRTP, the TIP, our system and corridor planning areas, public participation, and regional coordination. Some highlights from the past 3 years include the 2485 LRTP, which found the potential for disparate health and environmental impacts as a result of increased traffic on environmental justice communities, and identified mitigation measures to address those. The most recent TIP evaluated the distribution of project miles by funding bucket in low-income, racialized, and ethnic communities versus county-wide. The 2020 Vision Zero Speed Management Plan also used communities of concern to prioritize corridors and notably establish safeguards against inequitable enforcement practices. There was also the 2018 State of the System report, which looked at the crash rates of severe and fatal injury crashes in communities of concern as well. And then I would be remiss without mentioning the resolution on racial justice that you all passed last year. I'm going to hand it off to Dana to talk about the Planning Commission highlights a little bit.
Thanks, Josh. So I did a review of equity and non-discrimination work in the Planning Commission's plans and processes. That includes the update and review of the comprehensive plans of all 4 jurisdictions, the update of community plans, and special area studies that are carried out as directed by the Planning Commission. Next slide. So the first thing I want to highlight is the economically disadvantaged groups element, also called the EDGE. It's in unincorporated Hillsborough County's comprehensive plan. This element is dedicated to underserved communities. It includes a study of living conditions at the time the plan was written, which was 2008, analyzing data on things like average household income, conditions of the county's housing stock, employment data, and vehicle ownership. It also includes objectives and policies designed to improve the quality of life for economically disadvantaged populations by addressing the specific needs of different underserved demographics and neighborhoods. For example, policy 1.2 in the EDGE is an environmental justice focused policy restricting undesirable land uses like landfills and jails from being concentrated in low income areas. Next, as I was looking through the 3 cities' comprehensive plans, I found that in almost every element of all 3 plans, there are at least 1 or 2 goals, objectives, or policies that either prioritize underserved communities for consideration or investment, or address specific needs of underserved communities, such as the housing needs of the elderly and disabled. This likely helped the plan receive recognition by the APA for sustainability by addressing that social pillar of sustainability. Next, the Ybor City Vision 2020 Master Plan update is highlighted because it was initiated by a community group, the Ybor City Development Corporation. Ybor City is an historic neighborhood that is experiencing a lot of growth and development. And this community group wanted to have a say in how that growth and development will happen. Finally, the Brandon Corridors and Mixed Use Centers pilot project used some best practices to identify hubs where mixed use development could be encouraged in order to increase density and improve walkability, thereby improving bicycle and pedestrian access and safety and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Next.
So these first 3 parts have detailed our compliance efforts to date. These next 4 sections, as I mentioned before, are intended to advance equitable processes and more just outcomes above and beyond federal requirements, while also remaining true and more thoroughly addressing the original intent of these regulations. A great realization we had early on in this process, which was informed by academic literature on the topic, is that simply outlawing discrimination has not remedied the results of the legacy of discrimination. In many ways, the original intent of the Civil Rights Acts and the Fair Housing Act was to not only prevent further discrimination, but to actively undo the harms of past discriminatory policies in all areas of public life. Regulations advancing this aim have been unpopular, from the attempts of President Nixon's first HUD secretary to the more recent affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. And Supreme Court rulings have in many ways diminished the standards of disparate impact in these rules. Given these major dilutions of civil rights law and other shortcomings, staff identified a framework for equity and justice to have a basis upon which to build a more effective program. These components were identified by researcher Sepil O, and includes examining the distribution of benefits and burdens of our activities. It includes recognizing both historical and current inequities and the systems that uphold those inequities. It asks us to consider issues of procedure, who makes decisions and how they are made. And it also includes asking us to examine the quality of our interpersonal interactions and relationships between members of staff, our boards, and the public. And finally includes the component of care and repair, which deals with the activities we take that are pro-social and demonstrate genuine care for the communities we live in and work for. These components ultimately have helped guide some other steps we've taken, as well as our recommendations. For example, the recognition component of our equity framework, for example, supported staff desires to examine and document the history of anti-Black racism and planning practice in Hillsborough County. You all have already heard my summary of these efforts during the last time I was before the policy committee, and a full report is provided in Appendix F of this document. The major takeaway here is that federal, state, and local governments across the United States have a long-standing history of racist, xenophobic, classist, and otherwise discriminatory practices and policies within the fields of housing, transportation, land use, and comprehensive planning. These practices and policies, which were carried out with explicit intent up through the 1960s, have created an entrenched racial, ethnic, and class-based segregation across our communities, and have resulted in long-standing inequities in all areas of public life that continue to be seen and felt today. And our community is no exception to this broad pattern of racism and discrimination and planning practice that we saw across the country. As we move forward to meet the needs of all residents, it is imperative that we reflect upon our past as we plan for the future, that we, as members and leaders of government institutions, take responsibility for addressing the legacy of racism in our institutions and the inequities that have resulted from the past practices and policies. I'm going to hand it off to Dana now to talk about our public engagement.
And so along with what Josh was saying about our framework of equity, for the procedural and interaction components of that framework, meaningful public engagement with underserved communities is a key component of equitable urban planning. So public engagement has long been a required part of the planning process, but equitable public engagement makes an intentional effort to ensure that engagement does not passively exclude underserved, underrepresented people. While in the past, women and Black people, for example, were directly excluded from participating, these days exclusion tends to be passive, as it is often more difficult for marginalized people to access the planning process. For the public engagement for this plan, we demonstrated some methods for improving engagement with underserved people by making an intentional effort to oversample traditionally underrepresented demographics. We wanted to understand the access and discrimination challenges that underserved people in Hillsborough County are facing today and ask them their solutions for what we can possibly do to address those challenges. So that was our research question. We used 4 methods of engagement. One method that garnered 456 participants was an online survey, which we primarily sent out to community groups. We also did field outreach and verbally conducted the survey, where we went out to low-income communities of color around the county, identified using the maps that Joshua described earlier. We also held a virtual storytelling forum where we asked open-ended questions in order to learn additional information that may not have been captured in the survey. Finally, we held 5 focus groups, again, to ensure the participation of 5 key traditionally underrepresented demographics, specifically low-income people, LGBTQ people, disabled folks, Black and African Americans, and Hispanics and Latinos. To make this process successful, we engaged with some amazingly supportive community partners as well. The Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, the Waimama CDC, and Metro Inclusive Health partnered with us to put on the storytelling forum. Enterprising Latinas passed out flyers and helped us get input from the Spanish-speaking community. 200 Muslim Women Who Care is an awesome organization that we discovered through this process. They conducted their own access needs and challenges focus group of Muslim women. And our relationship with them actually led to a fantastic staff training on the basics of the Islam faith and access needs of Muslim women, which took place last month. USF's Cutter helped us design the survey, and a USF Master of Urban and Regional Planning class helped us analyze some of the public engagement results. So big thank you to our partners. Next slide, please. So the results. This public engagement process produced several key themes around challenges that underserved people face in accessing transportation, housing, other community elements, and community engagement opportunities. These were the 4 main areas that we asked people about. The overarching theme that emerged is that people feel that more investment is being made in wealthy white communities than in low-income Black and Hispanic communities, and they feel powerless to change that. People observed that racial and class segregation and displacement persist today, and that life for low-income individuals is made more difficult largely by the county's car-centric transportation system and a lack of political power. More specifically, on the topic of transportation, people want to walk and bike more, but are scared for their lives. They seek safe, walkable, bikeable, transit-accessible communities when looking for a place to live. But because prices are going up in the urban core and wages are stagnant, they end up being displaced to the suburbs where transportation and community elements are even more difficult to access. The neighborhoods they can't afford to live in are overburdened by trash, overgrown trees, unclean water, and a lack of beautification elements like neighborhood entryways. Finally, one of the biggest themes identified as a challenge to accessing political power is that people do not trust the government, and the feeling of powerlessness on top of other access issues, such as meetings being too far away or at difficult times for them to access because they work, it ends up deterring folks from participating. Some key ideas around solutions to transportation challenges included investing in bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, investing in public transportation, primarily the bus system first, as there are already people today who rely on it, and investing in traffic calming devices, particularly speed bumps, which were mentioned 59 times in the data. Key solutions to the affordable housing crisis and housing discrimination included a focus on increasing affordable housing in dense urban cores and focusing on revitalization policies to counter gentrification. This means that while we should prioritize multifamily housing and investment in underserved communities for things like bike lanes and better sidewalks, we must also ensure that these things are done in tandem with community benefits policies like job training programs and the provision of affordable housing in order to keep people from being displaced and allowing them to access the benefits of those improved facilities. People also asked for better access to information on whatever affordable housing and first-time homebuyer programs already exist. And they had many new policy ideas around things like community land trust programs and developer regulations. Another overarching solution to improve access and quality of life was to ensure dense infill development that provides key community elements like quality parks, quality grocery stores, and government access hubs within walking distance throughout underserved neighborhoods around the county. Finally, folks had some fantastic ideas about how to better reach them, with most of those ideas boiling down to building genuine relationships with underserved people and bringing engagement and important decision-making processes closer to where people live, or meeting them where they're at, and allowing them to speak for themselves, particularly by implementing field engagement methods like what we did for this plan, such as door knocking and tabling at community hotspots. Next slide. Which now brings us to the section of our non-discrimination and equity plan that provides recommendations that Plan Hillsborough can implement to advance equity through our work. These recommendations were derived from a combination of the aforementioned public engagement, staff interviews, and best practices research. The plan proposes recommendations for the entire agency and recommendations specific to the TPO and Planning Commission staff. Next slide, please. So the TPO and Planning Commission share administrative and public engagement processes and staff and often coordinate resources and expertise. So these are some of the main areas where we've made some agency-wide recommendations. The first key area we focus on is in the area of human resources with things like hiring, representation, and transparency, and training policies. For example, one recommendation is removing the requirement that all job applicants have a driver's license. Another is to do regular mandated diversity and civil rights trainings with all staff. Another subset of recommendations focuses on ensuring that a meaningful effort is made by staff and consultants to engage underserved demographic groups and neighborhoods in public engagement processes. To that end, one recommendation is to expand the TPO's public participation plan to cover the Planning Commission. This will help the agency coordinate and standardize procedures for doing things like providing translated outreach materials, providing public comment to boards, and adding a procedural step in planning studies across the agency that involves overlaying study area maps with our underserved community maps, as Josh mentioned earlier, in order to tailor engagement processes to reach the underserved communities that live in that project area. Another key recommendation is meeting people where they're at by increasing the use of field engagement methods and improving access by continuing to conduct all meetings and events in a hybrid format. Along the lines of leveraging technology to improve access, another key recommendation is to identify a way to consolidate outreach information through an app or text messaging platform. Finally, we recommend strategies that improve how the TPO works together with the Planning Commission and with other jurisdictions to tackle complex equity issues. For example, by doing regular equity updates with the boards, hosting equity-focused staff meetups, data sharing, and ensuring that communication from the public is properly heard and addressed by the appropriate agencies. We're all going to have to work together to tackle those intersecting equity issues. Next slide, please.
Some of the recommendations that we've identified for the transportation planning organization. The first big one, of course, is taking a dive into evaluating existing transportation conditions. That includes reporting on equity-related measures in the State of the System report. We've already made strides in that area, such as, like I mentioned before, fatal and serious injury crash rates in communities of concern, as well as issues of air quality, but continuing to expand those measures. Looking at conducting an equity-related needs assessment as part of the next long-range transportation plan update, and of course, recognizing and documenting historical discrimination when conducting our planning studies as well, particularly for certain corridors and areas. Next is, of course, evaluating the impacts of our plans and projects in Title VI and environmental justice communities. That includes changes to the Tampa Bay regional planning model to ensure better outputs on the impacts of our LRTP on environmental justice communities. And of course, measuring the funding distribution, whether that's centerline miles, dollars expended, and other methods across these communities in our TIP and our LRTP. This information really can be used ultimately to prioritize projects in those same communities. Really trying to take this step of identifying what the disparities are, how our plans and our projects are addressing those disparities, and using that information to prioritize projects to address that. That includes continuing to prioritize projects in the LRTP. We did that for the Real Choices When Not Driving for the trail projects in the 2045 one. Developing equity-related prioritization methodologies for our TIP. Looking at it in all other TPO project areas, whether that's safe routes to schools, Provision 0. And then, of course, exploring participatory budgeting for the LRTP and the TIP as well. Other recommendations include really focusing our Vision Zero efforts on infrastructure and design policies and attempting to minimize the need for enforcement and equitably guide our enforcement as well. I would be remiss without giving a shout out to Gina Torres and all her work over the past years on being really ahead of the curve on equitably guiding our enforcement practices for the TPO in this respect. Our other recommendations really include looking at representation on our advisory committees. So a CAC is a great example, considering new seats on the CAC, which better represent the citizens of Hillsborough County, and perhaps removing technical seats from that more non-technical committee. So in instances where the committee has more professionals, planners, engineers, perhaps those seats would be better represented by community development corporations, by
organizations such as the NAACP or Enterprising Latinos.
And then removing barriers to committee membership. Our applications ask about felony and misdemeanor convictions currently. And for a volunteer committee, we really felt that was not necessary and may discourage folks from even applying. And so with that, I'm happy to take questions and comments. I do really want to thank a few folks. First, the residents of Hillsborough County and our community partners, especially those who participated in this planning process with us, for their willingness to engage, for their time and energy, and their willingness to discuss challenging topics in the interest of the public good. I do want to thank Charles T. Brown of Equitable Cities for his invaluable knowledge and guidance during this plan update, his enduring patience working through all aspects of the planning process, and his commitment to advancing racial equity nationwide. I want to thank Danielle Bayer-Jackson of TEL Public Relations for her thoughtful perspectives, her commitments to social equity, and her contributions throughout this process. And of course, all the other staff of Plan Hillsborough for their subject matter expertise, their contributions, their enduring patience throughout all aspects of this work, and their commitments to advancing equity in all aspects of this agency. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments Dana and I know.
Well, thank you very much to both of you for what is obviously a very comprehensive report. I should point out to people that are watching on television and in the public that this was just a high-level summary this morning. This full report is available at planhillsborough.org, and there is a lot to back up just what you heard here this morning. I did see Councilman Maniscalco had his hand up, and we are going to move around the room for board comments as members wish to speak. So Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank Josh Barber and Dana Lazarus. Dana, who's a good friend of mine for many years, for this impressive report. And as you already mentioned, these are just the highlights. It goes in further detail. But something stood out to me, and that's discriminatory planning. And it goes back a long time, not just in this community, but across the country. And what I've seen, the most destructive would be starting in the 1950s with the interstate. And the interstate, we can look out this window and we can see the interstate from here. And the communities that it has affected. And I talked to a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people that were alive during the interstate construction and before. And people that grew up in Ybor City, people that grew up through East Tampa, people that grew up through West Tampa and Seminole Heights. And I remember one gentleman telling me, after the war, World War II, we wanted a better life, and we moved out of our neighborhoods. We went to Brandon, we went to Davis Islands, we went to Lutz, we went to wherever. People started leaving that urban center and looking for something new. And I go, why would you leave the old neighborhood? He says, because, it was old and, we wanted something better. We wanted something newer. We wanted cheaper land that was farther out of town or a bigger property or whatever it was. But then we came back 40, 50 years later. This is one gentleman telling me, he goes, we came back 50 years later to Ybor City, the area that he had grown up with with his brother. And we asked, well, what happened? And meanwhile, you had urban renewal, you had the interstate, you had all this, not just neglect, but destruction, and it targeted a lot of these communities. So, in the time that I've been here, which is 6 years, and in my votes in the past against TBX and other interstate widening, it's just a continuation of a lot of these policies. We think that the Jim Crow era is over. We think that, there's all these anti-discrimination and equity and equality safety nets put in place, but the policies continue just under different names. So when we vote for these large-scale projects, as we have in the past with TBX and TBNX and whatnot, we have to be very careful that we don't continue this discriminatory planning, just as the term was used in this presentation. And we're careful moving forward that we don't continue harming and destroying certain neighborhoods. Thank you.
Commissioner Overman?
Thank you very, very, very much, Josh, and thank you, Councilman Maniscalco, for your comments. They are in line with mine. Dana and Josh, you've done a wonderful job with this report, and I look forward to seeing the entire document. I have already reached out to the consultant that's working on the equity profile that the Board of County Commission has contracted to address our equity and inequities and our policy framework for being able to identify areas where our policies would create inequities, as Councilman Maniscalco mentioned, to create that lens. And so I've already sent them the links to the report. I've encouraged them to reach out to you to benefit from the research and the studies and the outreach that you've already done. As I think, as many of the members of the Board of County Commission that are on this, I'd love to actually see our overall board at some point in time see the benefit of the research that you've already done in concert with what the county has already started in terms of our analysis, because those silos don't need to exist as far as equity and inequities are concerned. That's kind of how we got here, I think, to some degree. So I'm very pleased. Thank you very much. And I think that the work that you can do can really help move this entire region forward when it comes to how we plan not only how people get around and but also how our communities benefit from the work that we do. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Yes. Commissioner Kemp.
Yes, I think this is, for me, one of the most important pieces that, I've seen come forward in the 4.5 years that I've been on the TPO. Now, I think it's, what we're doing, and I think it's something that needs to be done, is addressing our legacy and acknowledging our legacy from the past. And we had some presentation some 6 months ago, which I think did a really excellent and compelling presentation with regards to recognizing that legacy. And as Councilman Maniscalco put so, it's not just a legacy for here, but it's a legacy for the nation about how we have built our communities, about our land use, about our transportation. But it also, it's not just disappeared. It's a legacy that still exists. The legacy exists, but also the legacy reinforces the decisions of the past, which were done, inequitably, which destroyed communities with urban renewal, with building highways and taking away the value of those communities. And now placing, as we know, in this community, some of the uses that are uses that people don't want in their communities, they put in these communities. We have interstates that are very dangerous for the kinds of toxic air quality that is around the interstates, that shows much higher levels of asthma, childhood asthma, cardiovascular disease, and even at this point they're looking at cancer and dementia. And those are all studies that have been underway, and they're impacts that are going on today. So I'm just really concerned, and again, thank you, Dana and Josh for this report. I think it's been a really powerful report. And what I really want to see, and some of it I saw even today, but us doing a whole rethink of the kinds of things we're doing, right down to, as the last slide showed, kind of the composition. And I thought there were some really good information in there about how we can rethink what we're doing here as a committee, as a board, but and also as advisory boards. I mean, that is a granular thing, but overall too, I just wanted to say some of the things that were raised, like, buses. So someone said out there, buses are the number one thing. That's the number one thing that we can provide. Looking at pedestrian and bicycle uses and how we can do those. I mean, we're the second most dangerous place in America year after year after year after year, pedestrians and bicyclists, and it hasn't slowed down, it doesn't stop. We have been working on that, but we need to work better. We need to look at incredibly beefing up our transit system, and that is hugely bus-based. And honestly, too, when I hear about we have to focus on white collar, that's, whenever I hear that, or choice ridership, I'm always struck by the utter inequity of that. When we talk about the regional, a lot of times it's, to me, an equitable conversation in terms of that, because Hillsborough County has the largest, youngest population. We match the nation. The counties around us are much older, all the surrounding counties. But also, there's no county, we're one of the most diverse counties in America. And there's no county surrounding us that has anywhere near the different populations that we have. And you can go straight down the line in kind of every diverse population that's there. And a lot of times this drives some other types of choices and desires. And then again, too, we're looking at how we protect affordability and affordable housing within communities like Ybor City that you were mentioning, that people come back to, and where we can do that and how we can do that. But I just think it raises a lot of thoughts, thoughts that policies that I hope lead to the future of what we can do. And I think the big one on our table that we have been dealing with is TBX, because, enforcing the legacy of the past is not what we want to do. I hope we move to a new future and a new vision for how we move forward here as an MPO.
Okay, Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Josh and Dana for.
We can't hear you, Commissioner Myers.
I'd like to thank Josh and Dana for this excellent report. I'd just like to point out a couple of things that were discussed in the report that I think is just so beneficial to us. And when we talk about housing and transportation, look at the Progress Village, East Tampa, West Tampa. These communities are historic here in Hillsborough County. But yet, as we talk about making the improvements and how we're going to help, I grew up in West Tampa. West Tampa pretty much looked the same. East Tampa pretty much looks the same. If we're going to invest and take the surveys and all, we have to make sure when we do this type of work, are we coming back into the community to make a difference? Because we can talk about this and put it on paper, but if we don't work with the community engagement, and I saw the CDC up there, that is one. What I like to see and added is the pastors on patrol, the coalition of pastors, where we can really make a difference and work with the community to add more. I did not see the Tampa Urban League. The Urban League is back. We have the NAACP. So what staff has done today is excellent, but there are opportunities to add more to make sure the story is told. When we talk about the inclusion, we didn't have the inclusion, we talked about the non-discrimination and the equity plan, but the inclusion of the African Americans have to be there as well. Okay, so I just want to make sure we understand those things that are so important to the African American community. And I'm going to step out and say, as the District 3, I like to work to make sure with the committee, to make sure that when we have these meetings, our voices are heard and what we are suggesting will be implemented into the program, into the process. So I'll offer my support that way. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. School Board Member Vaughn.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of my fellow members for their comments, especially Councilman Maniscalco. That was very poignant, great points that you made, and everyone who has spoken in regards to that. I am so inspired by working with this group. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Dana, for compiling this information and presenting it so clearly where we can see the challenges that lay before us as we work towards equity within our communities. Some things that really struck out to me when you were talking about community engagement were the words access and powerless, and that in line with what Commissioner Myers was saying, what I hear is our communities feel that they're powerless to engage on the policies that we make, and that they feel there's very little access when reaching out to them. So I love that we had ideas of how to engage more community response. And what I hear, again, Councilwoman Myers saying is, where are the voices of our community? And when we had this kind of overview of this meeting and I spoke, one of the things that I saw that was addressed is having a board member having a representative from the NAACP have a spot on our Citizen Advisory Committee. I know at the school board, we're just forming our Citizens Advisory Committee, and we do hold places for certain members of our community that organize and represent those groups to have a voice, so they don't have to be appointed or elected by certain people on the board. So I know that was one thing that we had talked about in our meeting as a possibility of making sure that we have that access and representation. And I do think it's really important, as all of us represent different municipalities and parts of our community, to have this conversation and not just take it from this conversation about transportation, which is crucial. But again, when we're talking about policies and affordable housing at city council or county commission or on the school board as far as education. So I would love to use this presentation for my fellow board members as we have conversations as well. So I just wanted to kind of point out, and the one last thing I'm sorry this is so loud, maybe I should move it away a little bit. One last thing I did want to also address is, I do see where we hold place and we talk about the disabled community and disability advocation, but one of the things that we also had conversations about during this presentation was making sure we're not just making our transportation accessible, but we're also having representation in our hiring practices and within all of the decisions being made, that we have representation about and regarding the disabled community and disability advocates. So I just wanted to close with that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vaughn. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak at this time? I don't see any other hands. I just wanted to make a closing comment, sort of along the lines of what a lot of the other members have said. One of the things about this organization is that most of us serve in a lot of other capacities as well. And this study is really not just about transportation. It really bleeds into the work that we all do. I know the council members and the commissioners make a lot of land use decisions. The school board certainly touches all different parts of our life. I'm looking at people that serve from the airport and HART and the Port Authority, the Expressway Authority. And as each of us goes through our daily decision-making, the things that are discussed here really have an impact on all of it. That's the first thing. And the second is that, to the comment that was made about the composition of the committees, each of us makes appointments to the different committees. And thinking about those appointments through a little bit of a different paradigm may be a long way toward moving us to more equitable representation. One thing I would suggest is that it's also not always important to appoint someone to a committee that necessarily agrees with you. You might want to appoint someone with a different point of view so that you actually can have a robust dialogue with the person who you put on the committee. So a lot to think about. As I said, the full report is at planhillsborough.org. And I think that, again, we can't thank you both enough for your hard work on this project. It clearly was reflected in the report how much time and energy and effort you've both put into it, and the rest of our staff as well. And I know that I speak for all of us when I say we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Move to approve?
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I heard Board Member Vaughn and Commissioner Myers both second it. If there's no further discussion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you very much. That is passed, and we have now formally endorsed the non-discrimination and equity plan as presented. We are going to move on now. We have a status report on the Gandy PD&E study kickoff. Kirk Bogan is going to present that from FDOT. I would just point out that this is the new span of the Gandy Bridge that is going to be looked at for conceptual design, and we're looking forward to hear how this study is going to commence.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board, for allowing us to present this important project as we go forward in its implementation. You should be able to see on the screen my presentation.
Yes, we do.
Right. My name is Kirk Bogan. I'm an environmental management engineer here at FDOT District 7. Just wanted to give you a status on the kickoff of our Gandy Boulevard Project Development Environment Study from 4th Street in Pinellas County to West Shore Boulevard in Hillsborough County. The Gandy Boulevard PD&E study, as I said, the limits of 4th Street to West Shore. The purpose of this study is to reduce traffic congestion along the Gandy corridor and also to improve bicycle and pedestrian accommodations along the corridor. We are evaluating vehicular capacity improvements, which includes road widening and widening the bridges over Old Tampa Bay, and great separation on the Pinellas side at Brighton Bay Boulevard. And also, as I said, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, shared youth paths crossing in the Old Tampa Bay, and safe routes to provide safe routes for crossing Gandy Boulevard. In order to evaluate the project, we broke it into 3 segments, and also for simplicity, the first segment is the Pinellas segment, which is from 4th Street to the west end of the Gandy Bridge in the red there. And the second segment is the bridge itself, the bridges over Tampa Bay, which is, we will get into the typical sections on those. And then the third segment is a small segment in Hillsborough County, really to tie back into the existing in Hillsborough County. The existing conditions, what we have in Pinellas County is a 4-lane divided principal arterial. The whole corridor, the entire corridor is part of the SIS, or Strategic Intermodal Systems corridor, and the truck traffic along this corridor is greater than 5%. And here we have the Gandy Bridge, which consists of 2 bridges, 2 lanes in each direction. You have standard shoulders on both bridges, and the eastbound bridge, the lower bridge, was constructed in 1975. It was the way that it was instructed back then. We're not able to widen that structure at this time, and it has about 30 years of remaining service life. The westbound bridge, which was constructed in 1996, was constructed so that we are able to widen that structure at the appropriate time. On the Hillsborough side, as you know, there's a 4-lane divided principal arterial. As you know, the Selman extension was recently opened on the Hillsborough side to help alleviate some of the congestion on the Hillsborough side. The sidewalks on the Hillsborough side, there are 6-foot sidewalks, and you see, but there are no bike lanes on the Hillsborough side. Truck traffic is greater than 6%. As we said, safety was one of the initial reasons why we began this study. As you can see from this heat map, it shows the crashes along the corridor. As you can see, there's a concentration of crashes on the Pinella side and also on the Hillsborough side there at the West Shore and Culver Key condos. The dots represent all crashes, but we did single out the bicycle and pedestrian crashes. As you can see, from 2016 to 2020, we had 7 pedestrian crashes with 2 fatalities and 10 bicycle crashes out of the total of 743 crashes, of which 277 was intersection related and 355 were rear-end type crashes. And of course, contributing to those crashes was heavy congestion and the high volume turning movements along the corridor. And the improvements that we evaluated was controlled access facility with great separation to give an uninterrupted flow for those wanting to go through the area. And during the study, we're developing build alternatives for the entire corridor, and you will see typical sections in the following slides. But in the Pinella side, we are considering a controlled access typical section with frontage roads, and the controlled access lanes and a portion will be elevated via a viaduct to reduce right-of-way takes, and the frontage roads, of course, will be at grade. And bicycle and pedestrian accommodations will be on both sides of Gandy Boulevard. Along the causeway, we will widen it to 6 lanes divided, and the frontage road for water maintenance and beach area access. Whereas on the bridge, we will be looking at a 6-lane controlled access roadway, 3 lanes in each direction. We are looking to widen the existing westbound Gandy Bridge and repurpose it for the eastbound Gandy Bridge, and you will see that in the typical sections. And also construct a new westbound Gandy Bridge on the north side of the existing bridges. And also important is to have a multi-use trail linking Pinellas and Hillsborough County. In the Hillsborough County Segment 3, as I said, we will tie into Thea's Selma West Extension, and we will be doing some access management for access to surrounding properties, making sure that we provide the most appropriate access and operational improvements for the existing intersections. And of course, bicycle and pedestrian connectivity on both sides of Gandy Boulevard. This is the conceptual typical section for the Pinella side. As you can see, it's controlled access grade separated with the two-lane frontage road on either side, one-way frontage roads, and we have a multi-use recreational trail on both sides of the frontage road, 12 foot of that. And at the lower, you can see the area that we're talking about in red. And And as I mentioned, in one portion of the Pinellas side from West Brighton Bay to east of San Martin, we will have to put a viaduct in to reduce the impacts in that area. This is not representative of what it would, what the structure could look like, but just trying to give an idea of the overall look and feel for what will be proposed in that area. As for segment 2, which is again the bridge replacement, we'll start from right and go left. We will demolish the existing eastbound bridge that was built in the 1970s, and we will widen the 1996 bridge on both sides to provide 3 lanes in each direction and 10-foot shoulders, and that will be repurposed to the eastbound direction. And then we will build a new westbound bridge north of the existing bridges that will mimic the eastbound bridge. In addition, we will add the pedestrian bicycle trail to that structure. For the Hillsborough side, as you can see, the Thea extension viaduct is in place, and we will basically be tying into what's there existing. What you will notice, we're trying to maintain the existing right-of-way, and we have ongoing coordination with the local agencies for the trail connectivities. What you see here is a 6-foot bicycle sidewalk, but we are working with the local agencies to provide trail connections in this area also. And there will be operational improvements at West Shore Boulevard. So here you will see the milestones as we started this project in April of last year. But as you know, with the pandemic, we had to, for our traffic purposes, we couldn't go out and take traffic data, so it sort of slowed us down on our on getting this study started. And so we're now here making this presentation, and we're looking to have a public hearing in spring of 2022, spring or summer, and have approval in the fall of 22. Currently, the Pinellas segment is the only segment that is in our 5-year work program for design. And this is just another way of showing that only the Pinellas side for the design is in our 5-year work program. But you will note that there's no right-of-way required for the Gandy Bridge itself and the Hillsborough side of the segment 3 of the study. That's a quick overview of what we have going on Gandy Boulevard. Craig Fox is the project manager. He cannot make the presentation because of illness and illness in his family. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to entertain questions.
Okay, I know that Commissioner Kemp had indicated she would like to ask a question or speak.
Thank you. My question is this, I'm looking at, not quite pairing it up, but so right now, currently, are there 3 regular general traffic through lanes coming in each direction?
Currently, there are 2 lanes in each direction throughout the corridor.
And it's not because the lane is named anything, I mean, I know we had this big problem with the Howard Franklin where the name was, where the lane that is irregular, which any general person, members of the public, like us, most of us, might think that it was 4 lanes through, but there was another lane that was named access lane or something like that, even though it was used for general traffic. But in this case, currently, there's 2 lanes that traffic drive through on Gandy in each direction?
That is correct. We do have some left turn and right turn lanes along the corridor that are not continuous.
Okay, and this is going to 3 lanes in each direction?
It would be 3 lanes on the bridge, and there will be elevated section, 4 lanes elevated on the Vanilla side with 2-lane frontage roads on either side for
So-
local traffic.
And I've not heard the term controlled access lanes. So are those lanes, or any of those lanes that would be tolled lanes?
No, we do not propose those to be toll lanes.
Okay.
Tolled is just a little bit below limited access, but there will be access on frontage roads.
When you see the, when you see the lanes at the street level, lanes to the side, and then the elevated part in the middle, so are the lanes to the side just to have for local traffic, and then can they get there's, I guess, entryways from those lanes onto the bridge? Is that the design?
Yes, we will provide access from the local roadway network to the bridge from those frontage roads.
And I suppose the part of the bridge that's elevated, this question probably doesn't apply to, but maybe to the lanes that are the access lanes, or the lanes that are, not the controlled access lanes, the lanes that are at the lower level. One thing that I, have asked about in terms of the bridges is, because these have 50-year lives, is anticipated sea level rise, because we've recently got much greater estimates for the Tampa Bay area over the next 50 years for anticipated sea level rise. And one of the things I've especially noticed at the Gandy over in Pinellas County, when a few times, well, I can't tell you what time of year it was, but it wasn't raining conditions or anything like that. It may have been near full moons or something, king tides. But I was kind of taken aback by how perilously close the water was to the roadway below. And so I just wondered what kinds of planning is anticipated in terms of that.
Yes, we do plan for resiliency. We do plan for sea level rise for our bridges. But as you know, we have to connect back to the existing facility also and have access to those businesses along the causeway there.
So right now, then it's just what you currently have, I guess? Because I just, like I said, the water was so close to the roadway that I was taken aback.
Yeah, it'll be similar to what we're doing on the Howard Franklin. We are raising that bridge substantially over the existing bridges, and you will probably see that along the Gandy also. The new bridge will be higher, considerably higher than the existing bridge that we're demolishing.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Overman.
Thank you, Kurt, for your report. I appreciate it. And I appreciate Commissioner Kemp's question, because I had similar, but along the lines of some concerns regarding language. She asked if they were controlled access grade separation. Description is another word for toll lanes or express lanes that ultimately could be controlled through the management of tolls. So when I heard you say no, I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that this would just be a way of actually facilitating regional traffic that would not necessarily interface much with the local street level traffic as a way of getting people through the area quickly. Is that accurate?
That is correct. That is correct. That's an accurate description.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the accident reports that you have that show that as people are traveling across bridges such as this and the Howard Franklin that are doing anywhere from 60 to 90 miles an hour in the middle of the bridge, when they get to land, this would not be a problem at this one because there is no interface with the local access at that point. Is that correct?
State that again.
So in your slide that showed the accident report, it was very clear that once people got to the end of either end of the bridge, that they encountered interfacing with the local traffic. Turns and other things that actually caused rear end type of fatalities, rear end kinds of accidents that cause fatalities, anywhere where they were now interfacing with non-water based, solutions, right? So if this controlled access roadway that's in the middle of this new bridge continues through the bridge, that's fine. But if you have this controlled access on either end without an interface on the bridge to allow that through, you're going to just create another accident-prone intersection at each of the shorelines, it appears to me. So if the strategy is to avoid that accident, we may need to reconsider how it connects to the land sides to ensure that we're not just doing the same thing and expecting a different result, which we have a habit of doing, by the way. Not your department, just humans in general. We tend to do that. So, no offense meant. But that being said, I don't want to rebuild this bridge in 10 years because we discovered we didn't plan for the capacity, nor had we properly planned for the emergency response that's necessary to move, all of Pinellas off the peninsula during a hurricane due to sea level rise or just evacuation actions. When we need to move a lot of people. So I appreciate the report. I recognize we're doing engineering, but I wanted to make, a request to be sensitive to not only the equity of the solution, if tolling or managed lanes are basically said, we won't do it now until we have a political structure that's willing to do it later. Don't design the road that way, or just make sure that we're not recreating the same kind of crash history as those managed control lanes interface with the shores at either end of the bridge. Because building this bridge once every 40 or 50 years is probably the best, most financially responsible thing we could do as we choose to move this project forward and address our congestion issues. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for those comments, both commissioners. Just to wrap up, this board has pushed very hard for pedestrian and bicycle accommodations, originally across Courtney Campbell and then across the Howard Franklin Bridge, and it's really good to see that we're looking at the same thing to cross the Gandy. For many years, there was the Friendship Trail Bridge. That, of course, went away, so people that bike and walk across the bridge are significantly disadvantaged at this point, and this will be a terrific amenity. To reiterate the points from Commissioner Kemp and Commissioner Overman, there will be 3 general use lanes, non-tolled, as opposed to 2 in each direction, which is certainly an improvement. And I just wanted to say, as somebody that lives very close to Gandy Boulevard and uses the bridge a lot, one of the really bad, or 2 of the really bad choke points on Gandy were Gandy and Manhattan and Gandy and West Shore particularly. And both of those intersections, independently of the Expressway Authority's project, both of those intersections have been significantly reconfigured over the last couple of years, and they are finally open and operating in their post-construction capacity right now, and they are vastly improved over what they were. It used to be that Gandy and West Shore was really one of the worst intersections in the county. They expanded the intersection, put in additional turn lanes, additional crosswalks, additional signalization, and it functions much, much better than it did before. So the one thing I would encourage on this is to make sure that whatever we do to increase the capacity of the bridge, we don't inadvertently make those intersections non-functional now, because they're finally functioning better, and we need to make sure that we keep them that way. On that, we can, I think, move on now to the executive director's report. Ms. Alden.
Thank you so much. And board members, you have a copy of our quarterly report on all of our planning tasks in our planning work program. That is in the email that you received on Monday with all of the public comments also that we've received over the last month. I do have an item of business that I would like to bring to you, not for a vote at this time, but to consider a change to the bylaws to reduce the quorum for the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the Livable Roadways Committee. And the reason for that is that those committees have not been able to vote since last November, might have been October, because of the limitations on our room capacity, not being able to accommodate the quorum of 12 to 13 members. We were hopeful that we would be able to move to a 20-person room capacity starting this month, but it looks like we are not there yet, and we would like to continue to have the plexiglass in place in that meeting room. If our BPAC and our Livable Roads Committee are going to be able to vote in that room, we need to reduce the quorum to 9. And so unless there's any objection, I would like to bring back a bylaws amendment to you for a vote next month to change the quorum to 9 for those two committees. Is there any questions about that?
I don't see any objections to that, and that sounds very reasonable.
Thank you so much. I have 2 other follow-up items from our TIP hearing in June. One is that we had quite a bit of discussion about I-275 north of Hillsborough Avenue and whether it is possible to ask that noise walls, which have emission reduction benefits, could be constructed even if we do not add additional through lanes. So District 7 kindly provided all of the background information about that, the federal regulations, the state law, and the policy of the DOT. And so it's been clarified that what is standing in the way of this is just a DOT policy. It's a statewide policy, so it's not something that our district office has discretion over. So what I have done is to send a letter to central office of the DOT asking them for reconsideration of this policy, and I'll be following up on that and keeping you in the loop. Then one of our other actions in June, you all asked for a workshop on the CSX rail corridors. And I've taken a couple of steps on that front. The first is that I'd like to make sure that all of us have the same baseline knowledge about where we are with our fixed guideway planning. And so I'd like to devote our policy committee meeting next month in September to a refresh on where are we with our rail and our BRT planning and what are the steps needed to move that forward. Then as a follow-up, reaching out to the rest of the region would be the next step. There's also another opportunity that has come up over the last month to 2 months, and that is that FDOT statewide is going to be updating the state rail plan, which has not happened since 2009. And they've been proactive in reaching out to the MPOs through the Florida MPO Advisory Council and asking for MPO participation. And so what I'd like to do is work also with the Florida MPO Advisory Council to convene a facilitated workshop so that MPO leaders from around the state can weigh in on what's important from a metropolitan perspective in the state rail plan. And then I think the last thing that I wanted to mention is that our Vision Zero project manager, Gina Torres, is a member of the National Association of MPOs, their active transportation work group, and has helped to organize a webinar tomorrow that we are excited to feature Justin Hall with DOT District 7, who will be talking about multi-agency collaborations for improving multimodal safety, in particular focusing on the Fowler Avenue project. So we've been talking about Fowler Avenue a lot this year. It is a partnership between City of Tampa, the county, the DOT, and HART to make those multimodal improvements. And of course, you have prioritized federal funds to go into that project. And so Justin will be giving an overview of how that collaboration has evolved to peers around the country. So we're excited about that. For our listening audience, you can find that at ampo.org, ampo.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with 3 minutes to go, is there any old or new business that we need to take up today? I'm looking around and I don't see any, so we will stand adjourned until our next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.